Test 1, 2, 3. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our council meeting for Wednesday, August the 14th, 2024. I'm going to call our meeting to order at 7 p.m. Welcome to everyone. I'm going to start with our land acknowledgement. All right. Penetanguishene respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people and their ancestors, now known as the Williams Treaties First Nations territory. This includes Chippewa Tribe Council, comprised of Bosley First Nation, Rama First Nation, and the Georgina Island First Nation, Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nations. Also once home of the Huron-Wendat and more recently the historic settlement of the Métis. Penetanguishene is now home to many Indigenous peoples. Penetanguishene is proud of its Indigenous name, and more importantly, that for thousands of years, it has been and will continue to be an important homeland and gathering place for Indigenous people. We recognize that we are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters and are responsible to ensure that our Mother the Earth is here for future generations. Council, I'm going to ask if we can stand, and I'll see Councillor Waters if you can start us off with the council commitment, please.
We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed on Penetanguishene and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and peace that we enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. We ask that all in attendance and those that could not be here assist us in promoting good government. May our decisions as members of council be enlightened, and may we all be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town for the benefit of all and to make good laws and wise decisions. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Councillor Waters and Councillor Rush.
Nous sommes reconnaissants des nombreuses grâces accordées à Penetanguishene et à ses citoyens dont la liberté, les possibilités et la paix dont nous jouissons. Que nous soyons des intendants dignes de tout ce que nous a été confié. Nous demandons que toutes les personnes présentes et celles qui n'ont pas pu se présenter nous aident à promouvoir une bonne gouvernance. Que nos décisions à titre de membres du Conseil soient éclairées et que nous soyons tous renforcés à prendre conscience de nos devoirs et responsabilités. Que l'on nous accorde la sagesse, les connaissances, la volonté et la compréhension qui nous permettront de préserver la bonne fortune de la ville au bénéfice de tous, ainsi que de faire de bonnes lois et prendre de sages décisions. Merci de votre présence.
Thank you, Councillor Rush. A little out of order, maybe Chief Renault, if you don't mind helping us out with our public safety announcement. And just for the record, for everyone, Councillor Vadabonker is in attendance. He's connected virtually with us tonight. Welcome, Councillor Vadabonker. Chief Renault.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Just a few messages before we get started. Should you require the washrooms are located just outside of the council chamber, to the right down the hall. Town Hall is protected by a single source fire alarm system. Should the fire alarm ring, please exit the building through the rear doors or the side doors. Make your way downstairs to the parking lot closest to the church, and you'll be directed from there. In the event of a medical emergency, please dial 911. The address for Town Hall is number 10 Robert Street West in Penetanguishene. And I'd like to remind you that we have a public access defibrillator just outside of town of council chambers on the wall. I wish you a safe and good meeting. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue à la ville de Penetanguishene pour la réunion du conseil. Avant que nous commençons une couple de messages, les chambres de bain sont situées juste à la sortie, à l'arrière de la salle, au bout du corridor à votre droite. La salle ici est protégée d'un système d'alarme de 1 stage à feu. Si l'alarme à feu sonne, veuillez quitter l'édifice par la porte à l'arrière ou de côté et on se rejoint dans le stationnement près de l'église. En cas de problèmes médicaux, veuillez signaler le 911. L'adresse ici est le numéro 10 rue Robert-Ouest à Penetanguishene. Et je veux vous rappeler qu'il y a un défibrillateur public juste à la sortie de la salle. Je vous souhaite une bonne soirée. Merci. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Chief Renault. All right, council, moving on. Number 4 is our approval of the agenda. I have a motion that the agenda of the regular council meeting of August the 14th, 2024 be approved as presented. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor LaRue, seconded by Councillor Waters. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Number 5 is declaration of pecuniary interest. Any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we're going to move on to number 6 is our open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to bring anything forward to council. For that, we ask that you register with Madam Clerk for that. Madam Clerk, is anyone registered for the open forum this evening?
Thank you, Your Worship. There is no one registered for open forum this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just to confirm, Sarah, there's no one online that wanted to participate in open forum?
We have no one online. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to number 7 is our statement by members, an opportunity for council to share with members of the public what council has been doing on your behalf. I'll start with Councillor Marshall, Councillor Roux, and then Councillor Vadabunker. You'll go just after Councillor Roux. So if you'll just be ready for that. Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple updates for me. We were just talking about the wonderful heat, and I am someone who really does enjoy the beautiful sunshine. So when we're on Georgian Bay, we're pretty fortunate here in the town. So certainly taking advantage of our trail systems and the waterfront park quite a bit. So that's been a big piece for me. There might be quite a big splash and slideshow with regards to our participation at the Springwater Mayor's Golf Tournament, but I don't want to burst any bubbles in case there's, some big splash about that. Although we did not finish in the top 3, I don't think that day, but it was great to be out there with the mayor, the CAO, and also our treasurer to represent the town of Penetanguishene in support of the Springwater Mayor Golf Tournament. So it was a really great opportunity to, work with and support a really great cause in a neighbor municipality. So that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Councillor LaRue.
Thank you, Your Worship. Attended the public meeting August 1st at the Brian Orser Hall in regards to the proposal from Sunshine Group vis-a-vis the Penetang General Hospital. I attended a public meeting last evening with regards to the cell tower telecommunications and can advise the council that our planner, Andrea, is working very diligently on a report that probably will be coming to us either September or October. Is that correct? And finally, I attended the play Jersey Boys at the Kingsworth Theatre on Sunday. A super play, and I have to say that how fortunate we are to have such a great live theater events in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor LaRue. Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Mayor Rawson. I don't have anything to report. I've just been enjoying the summer so far. And as you indicated off the top of the meeting, I'm on vacation this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabunker. Councillor Waters.
I haven't done a lot of outside stuff. I've had a lot of people come in and talk to me. So I've had a lot of one-on-one meetings, mostly regarding to parking, our town dock, garbage cans, lot sizes, and among other things. That's pretty much it. We did have a meeting last night for some cell tower stuff. So other than that, I guess that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Councillor Durush.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take an opportunity to talk about something I'm going to do. So next Friday, on August 23rd, there'll be a youth night at Bayside Swati held at the amphitheater at 8 Owen Street. And there'll be live music that will be performed by Emery Music. There will also be wildlife presentation from Speaking of Wildlife, inflatables, so much more fun to be had. The event will run from 5 to 8, so please tell the youth in your lives to head out to the amphitheater on Friday, August 23rd. And there's also a reminder to everyone that the town is looking for citizens to volunteer their time and expertise on the Winterama Committee, the Trails Committee, and the Wellbeing and Accessibility Committee. For more details, you can always check our website or call the town directly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Durush. Deputy Mayor LaRose.
Thank you, Your Worship. We covered most of them. PGH was good. I attended the cell tower stuff in the afternoon, which was well attended then. We had our local group of people doing that, but I think the only one I think we all forgot was the grand reopening of the Foodland. There was a number of us there back in July. Their renovations are complete. It looks great and it's all up and running. So congratulations to them.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Last month, I neglected the CEO. So for the record, we did do lunch. I did buy, and I think we have a picture. CEO Lees on behalf of administration.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of things I'd like to report. First off, I'm sure that members of the community as well as members of council have seen of late how busy our fire and emergency services department is. There's a number of calls that they've attended to, and fortunately with their expertise and their knowledge and skill set, there have not been any significant injuries or let alone, heaven forbid, fatalities, but certainly lots of activity in fire and emergency. So wanted to thank Chief Renaud and his team for their efforts. We're in the budget and year-end financial crunch time season. Budget and year-end generally go hand in hand every year. So staff are, with some guidance and leadership from our finance team, working hard away at budget as well as trying to wrap up our 2020, 2023 and soon to be 2024 year ends. And last but not least, it was alluded to earlier that we maybe didn't finish in the top three, but I would suggest that we were informed after that we did actually finish first in the best dressed category. On the screen there, you'll see just how well we represented the community at the Springwater Swing tournament. Mayor Coughlin, we were so well dressed that Mayor Coughlin actually had to plead with the crowd not to come see us when it came time to selling raffle tickets, because we were getting confused with just how well dressed Springwater staff were. So good time, good event, and happy to represent the community in supporting one of our neighbors' charity golf tournaments. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, CEO Lees. Thank you to everyone. I participated in a lot of the events that was mentioned, so I won't repeat those. But the other one I'll highlight is CEO Lees and I did start our Main Street walkabout to meet with business community. We're continuing that again, I believe, next week, and Inspector Pittman from the OPP will be joining us. So that was good. So a lot of good work's being done, and thank you for sharing. We're going to move on to number 8 is our proclamations. We have a few. Before I say them, Council, does anybody have anything you want to speak to any of these, or are we good to proceed? Okay. 8A is a resolution from the Fiat Simcoe Pride. Our proclamation is, whereas this marks the 13th annual Fiat Simcoe Pride, and its purpose is to create a safe and inclusive Simcoe County that supports gender and sexual diversity through services, activities, and events. And whereas the Intersex Progress Pride flag is raised to honor gender and sexual diversity in Simcoe County, Valentino Vesci designed the Intersex Progress Pride flag in the UK in 2021. The flag is a combination of Gilbert Baker's 1978 Pride flag, Daniel Quasar's 2018 Progress Pride flag, and Morgan Carpenter's 2013 Intersex flag. The flag is a symbol of the Pride movement and the advancement of human rights for sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, sex characteristics, and whereas Fiat Simcoe Pride was formed on May the 13th, 2012, and its mission is to create and offer inclusive events, services, and educational opportunities that rise above heterosexism, heteronormativity, and homo, bi, transphobia, promoting safe communities within Simcoe County. And whereas Fiat Simcoe Pride is filled with numerous events and activities that focus on education, awareness, community development, creative expression, and fun for the whole family. And finally, the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene hereby proclaims July 29th to August the 11th, 2024 as Fiat Simcoe Pride in the Town of Penetanguishene. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Waters. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 8B is a resolution from the Arthritis Society of Canada regarding the Arthritis Awareness Month. Whereas nationwide community support has been critical throughout Arthritis Society of Canada's 76-year history, enabling the organization to fulfill its mission to fight the fire of arthritis with research, advocacy, innovation, information, and support. And whereas arthritis is a serious disease that causes debilitating pain, restricts mobility, and diminishes quality of life. 6 million people in Canada, 1 in 5, live every day with the brutal realities of arthritis, and there is no cure. Without a greater spotlight on this growing issue, the number of people with arthritis will rise by 9 million by 2040. And whereas during Arthritis Awareness Month this September, we will raise awareness, mobilize and engage communities to understand the devastating impacts of arthritis and stand with us to fight for an arthritis-free future. And whereas Arthritis Society of Canada is Canada's national charity dedicated to extinguishing arthritis for good, now therefore the Council of the Town of Panettiangsheen hereby proclaims the month of September as Arthritis Awareness Month for the Town of Panettiangsheen. Look for a mover. Councillor Waters, second by Councillor Garage. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. And C is a resolution from the Candlelighter Simcoe regarding September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas approximately 10,000 children are living with cancer in Canada today. Each year, about 1,500 cases are diagnosed. Because of significant advances in therapy, 82% of these children will survive 5 years or more. Childhood cancer remains responsible for more deaths from 1 year through adolescence than any other disease. And whereas families facing the journey of childhood cancer need the best possible medical, financial, and emotional support we can provide. Every family touched by childhood cancer needs support from its relatives, neighbors, teachers, and community. Parents need the understanding and compassion from their employers. Brothers and sisters need special consideration both at home and in school. Young cancer patients themselves need every opportunity to express and pursue the dreams that are the hallmark of childhood and the hope that cancer can be beaten. And whereas this month we recognize the dedication and hard work of all those scientists, healthcare professionals, parent organizations, and volunteers who are working to overcome childhood cancer and assist these families. We admire and support the courageous youth and parents who struggle with this disease, and whereas we applaud and commend the dedicated volunteers at Candlelighters Simcoe parents of children with cancer for the work they do for families of children with cancer in our region. Now, therefore, the Council of the Town of Panettiangsheen hereby proclaims September 2024 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Panettiangsheen. Look for a mover. Deputy Mayor LaRue, seconded by Councillor Roux. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. And D is our Simcoe County FASD Prevention Committee, September the 9th as FASD Awareness Day. Whereas there is no safe amount, no safe time, or no safe kind of alcohol that a pregnant individual can drink during pregnancy. And whereas the term fetal alcohol spectrum disorder describes the range of exceptionalities that may affect an individual who was exposed to alcohol in utero during pregnancy, and whereas prenatal alcohol exposure is the leading preventable cause of birth defects such as physical, mental, behavioral, and/or learning challenges. And whereas the exact number of people who have FASD is unknown, but in Canada it is estimated that 4% of the population are born with effects of prenatal alcohol exposure annually. And whereas the estimated social and economic cost of FASD in Canada is $1.8 billion per year, and whereas more than 50% of all pregnancies are unplanned when drinking may occur before the pregnancy is confirmed. And whereas people around the world began observing International FASD Awareness Day on September the 9th each year beginning in 1999. In order that on the 9th day of the 9th month of the year, the world will remember that during the 9 months of pregnancy, it is important to abstain from alcohol. And whereas the good health and well-being of the people of Panettiangsheen are enhanced by the support of a national effort to educate about and prevent FASD through the Simcoe County FASD Prevention Committee, part of Simcoe County FASD initiative. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Doug Rawson, do hereby declare September the 9th, 2024 as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day in Panettiangsheen to promote awareness of the effects of prenatal exposure to alcohol, to increase acceptance and support for those individuals so affected, to minimize further effects and to ensure healthier communities in the future. A mover? Councillor Roux, second. Councillor Waters. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed. And that is carried. All right, council, moving on to number 9 is our public meeting. We have 2 this evening. So we'll start with 9A as a zoning bylaw amendment, ZA 8-2024, and draft plan subdivision Pen sub 2024-02 regarding 128 Burke Street. So this is a public meeting tonight under section 34 and 51 of the Planning Act to consider draft plan of subdivision, file number Pen sub 2024-02, and zoning bylaw amendment, file number ZA 8-2024 for the property at 128 Burke Street. To council, the purpose of this public meeting is to provide an opportunity for the public to make comments. The purpose of this public meeting is not to engage in a debate regarding the merits of the application, nor is it intended to be a question and answer session. There is an opportunity later in the meeting to ask questions on the application after the public meeting has concluded. Andrew, I'm going to ask if you can introduce the application for us, please. Can you confirm if notification was provided? And can you also note if any correspondence has been received, as well if you can outline the proposal for us, please?
Thank you very much, Your Worship, members of council and the public. I can confirm that the town did receive the application, and notice of tonight's public meeting was given on July 23rd. It was given through the North Simcoe and Springwater News, as well as the town's website and social media notifications. So notice was given, and you will find on your desk there was 3 comments that were received after the agenda was published. So you have 3 matters on your desk. There are comments from surrounding property owners. There was some comments as well as in your agenda that you'll find later on in the agenda package, as well as some comments from public agencies as well. The proposal is to subdivide the property at 128 Burke Street into 3 blocks for townhouse development, resulting in 19 units, as well as a block to be retained for future development. The application is for this plan of subdivision, as well as the facilitating zoning bylaw. I know the applicant's agent is on the line, and there's a presentation that will go into some more details. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Nethery to give more information to it.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Very happy to be back in front of you tonight about this site and this application. But I may have a little bit of a giant cough going on, which makes me a very poor speaker. So I'm going to introduce my colleague, Marcus Ruggiero, who's one of the planners at my firm, to walk us through this presentation.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you everyone for attending tonight. My name is Marcus Ruggiero from Nethery Planning, and on behalf of our client, LSR Burke, I would like to walk through our proposal at 128 Burke Street. So the site is outlined in blue on this slide. The land has an approximate area of 0.934 hectares and a total frontage of approximately 146 meters along Burke Street. Additionally, the subject lands will have a frontage of 125.6 meters along the future extension of Beaulieu Drive. Currently, the site is in a forested state and has a slight slope to the south. Surrounding the property, there are a mix of low-rise residential units. To the north of the property, the streetscape is comprised of semi-detached and single-detached dwellings. To the east, there's a single-detached dwelling, and to the west, there are single-story townhouse dwellings. In addition to the residential units, there is an institutional use located just south of the property, which is the Covenant Christian Community Church. So our proposal is comprised of 19 townhouse units distributed across 3 blocks, 6 units in the first 2 and 7 in the last block. They are all accessible via Burke Street with 2 parking spaces, 1 driveway spot, and 1 garage spot. This aligns with the zoning bylaws parking policies for townhouse units. So to allow for this proposal, we have submitted a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the lands from deferred development D to a site-specific residential 3 zoning. The site-specific provisions will allow for a few variations in the proposal compared to what is in the zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw calls for a lot frontage of 7.5 meters, and we're proposing units with a 6.3 meter frontage. Additionally, the bylaw calls for a 35% max lot coverage. The units we are proposing range from 41 to 46%. finally, the bylaw calls for a minimum front yard of 6 meters, and we are proposing a 4.4 meter front yard. In addition to the zoning bylaw amendment submitted, we have submitted a draft plan of subdivision to divide the land into individual townhouse blocks. So our proposal aligns with various policy frameworks, both regional, countywide, and local. Starting with the Planning Act, this proposal supports matters of provincial interest by aligning with key objectives such as promoting efficient land use, ensuring adequate housing supply, and fostering safe and healthy communities. According to the provincial policy statement, the proposal promotes a compact built form in an existing settlement area, which bolsters a strong and healthy community. By focusing on infill development, the project contributes to the optimization of land use and the efficient delivery of services, while also enhancing the housing mix within the community as emphasized in PPS policies. The growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe highlights the importance of managing forecasted growth effectively. This proposal exemplifies this by optimizing infrastructure use and fostering a complete community. The County of Simcoe official plan emphasizes the intensification of lands within primary settlement areas, aiming to provide accessible housing choices for residents. This development aligns with these goals by introducing townhouse units that offer a housing option in a well-serviced area. In the context of the Town of Penetanguishene official plan, the infill housing development directly supports the intent of the neighborhood area designation. Overall, the proposed development at 128 Burke is not only consistent with the relevant policy documents, but also exemplifies best practices in land use planning. In my professional opinion, the proposed development at 128 Burke offers a carefully balanced approach to intensification, land use, and urban design, which will benefit the town of Penetanguishene. By increasing residential density within a well-established community, this project contributes to creating a complete community, offering a greater variety of housing options close to essential community amenities. Additionally, the proposal is well aligned with the character of the surrounding neighborhood, as the development increases the density of the area while maintaining a consistent streetscape, ensuring that the new structures fit harmoniously into the existing urban fabric. The design of the townhouses has been carefully planned to maintain a human-scale environment, avoiding any abrupt visual transitions. Additionally, the proposal incorporates low-impact development techniques such as soak-away pits and grass filter strips for stormwater management. Lastly, by introducing 19 townhouse units, the development elevates the community's capacity to meet a wide range of housing needs, catering to different household types, income levels, and stages of life. This diversification is critical for supporting a more inclusive and adaptable community while aligning with the town's objectives for long-term growth and development. In support of this proposal, a comprehensive set of studies and reports were submitted to ensure that all aspects of the development meet the required standards and contribute to a positive environment in the town of Penetanguishene. The transportation impact study concluded that the surrounding road network can accommodate the additional traffic generated by the development without requiring significant improvements. The functional servicing report confirmed that the proposed development can be effectively serviced by existing municipal infrastructure, including water, sewage, and stormwater systems. The stormwater management report outlined a comprehensive plan that include low-impact development measures, such as soak-away pits and grass filter strips. These measures ensure effective management of stormwater quality and quantity, minimizing environmental impact and aligning with best practices in sustainable development. The arborist report identified a need for tree compensation due to the removal of trees on the site. It recommends cash in lieu approach for the tree replacement in compliance with the town's tree bylaw. The geotechnical report found that soil conditions on the site are suitable for the proposed development. The hydrogeological report emphasized the importance of managing groundwater during construction, particularly for deeper excavations. It confirmed that the site's soil has high permeability, which supports the feasibility of using infiltration-based stormwater management practices. The stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment concluded that no archaeological resources were encountered on the site. And finally, the public consultation strategy report outlined a comprehensive approach to engaging with the local community, ensured that residents are informed about the development and had the opportunity to provide input. In conclusion, the proposal for 128 Burke is a prime example of infill development. It supports key policy directives outlined in the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the County of Simcoe official plan, and the Town of Penetanguishene official plan. This development promotes intensification by introducing 19 townhouse units on an underutilized parcel of land, effectively increasing residential density in a strategic location. It provides essential housing by diversifying the options available to meet market needs, and the proposal optimizes municipal servicing by making efficient use of existing water and sewage systems. Additionally, the development implements low-impact development measures such as soakaway pits and grass strips. And finally, the project fosters a complete community by providing a compact urban form that enhances walkability and connectivity. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Marcus and Joe, for your presentation this evening. I'm going to ask if anyone in the audience wishes to make comments on this application based on land use planning issues relevant to this application. I'm going to ask that you make your way to the podium, and if you can state your name and address for the record, please. Yeah, I'll have you come to the podium, sir. And again, if you can make your name and address for the record. And just for everyone's purpose, this isn't a two-way debate, so we'll ask you to make your statement and comment. Staff will be recording these. Later in the evening, we have a motion 14A where we're going to have staff to come back with a report, which will follow up on some of the questions that were asked of us tonight. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. My name is Mike Janak. I have 2 vacant lots on Beaulieu, which I can't develop. So what I like to know is when they're going to do the second phase. Are they going to do next year? Are they planning to wait 5 years or to connect? And then by doing so, with connecting the road on Beaulieu, there'll be other future lots available, like the other back lands of Robert Street, going towards Beaulieu and so on. So just wondering, are they going to pursue that, or is just a theory?
Thank you for your question. And sir, for the record, can you just state your address for the record? We got your name.
Where, my lots or at home?
Or wherever you want to give us.
Okay, I live in La Fontaine, which is 160 La Fontaine.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Is there anyone else? Yep. I'll get make your way to the podium and name and address of the record, please.
My name is Steve Rebior. I'm at 22 Beaulieu Drive. I'm familiar with the property. Our family used to own it. Where I am, from the person who built the house originally, of Mr. Peter Posey, he indicated that there was a lot of clay below it. And I know that when the snow melts in the spring, my sump pump runs pretty steady. So I was just had some questions about drainage, whether like I'm not understanding exactly how this is done, but is drainage going into your stormwater system, or you're trying to percolate it into the ground? Because I would just be curious if that could be checked at. And also to Mr. Janak's point, I'd be curious about the extension of Beaulieu Drive. Mr. Posey was told in the 80s it would be built any day, and you know, we're like almost 50 years away. So I didn't know, I'd be curious when that part of the plan, just some kind of timeline, I'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else wish to make comments on the application?
Hello, my name is Marilyn Turner, and I live in the townhouse development that's right beside this proposed development. It's 90 Burke Street. I live in Unit 2. There are 20 units there, and we're a community of seniors who are over 55 years of age mostly. Our big concern is we understand that this development will take place, but we're concerned about have the necessary bylaws approvals been given so that the construction doesn't start, the trees are taken down, the holes are dug, and then the site is left untended for many months as more approvals go through. So a stoppage of work that would leave us in a dusty construction site for an extended period of time. So that's one concern we've expressed. The second concern we have is the abutment to our development. Right now, the lot is full of trees and they're lovely. And we're hoping that consideration has been given to building some kind of visual barrier between our units, between our development and the new townhouses that go in. I understand they're going to be fairly small. The townhouses are fairly small in their width. Is there some consideration been given to some kind of barrier, visual barrier, maybe leaving some trees between us and them?
Thank you very much. Are there anyone else that wishes to comment on this application?
I'm new to the area.
Welcome.
And thank you. We just moved in last September. And through the school year, I have seen children walking down Burke Street. If there's going to be others in this development, I am really concerned by the amount of traffic and the children. There is no sidewalks on either side. And these little kids go down with their backpacks and on in the winter, their hats, and there's been no consideration as to them getting to the school. And this, with more townhouses, there'll be more children and more traffic. And my husband and I have sat and looked at this, and it scares me with these little kids, these children. It's a public school that's there. And I don't think anyone has even thought at all about this. And I'm very concerned about it. And the street isn't that wide, and we're all of a sudden going to have 19 houses right there. And I do agree also with the fact that there should be a barrier. The trees are beautiful, and to cut all those trees down, all you would need, it's, I think, 60, what is it, 60, pardon? Oh, 10 or 15 feet wide, but just along the whole one side here, just to leave some of those beautiful trees. It would be, I know this project's going through, but I think it would be even visually nice for the people who are buying homes in that area. Did I forget to tell you my address? Okay.
Yeah, if you can.
My address is Unit 4, 90 Burke Street. Oh, did I do my name?
And your name, please.
Okay. Gee, I forgot the whole thing. Judy Gales. Okay.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else wish to make, yep, podium is yours. Name and address for the record, please. And the floor is yours.
Karen Bowman, I live at 90 Burke, Unit 1. I'm new to the area. And I've been here 2 years. And when I was looking for homes, I was looking down, for example, I looked at Bayport, that development. My question is, when is this going to start and when will it finish? Because my real estate agent said to me when I was looking at some, you're going to be living in dirt for 3 to 5 years in some of the developments. And that's what I would like to know. Are they going to start it, then stop, like Bayport, then start again in 8-10 months, a year? Are we going to be living with this for 3 to 5 years? That's what I would like to know. My name is Karen. I live at Unit 1, I think I said.
Thank you very much. Any other members wish to make any comments on this application? Sarah, is there anyone online that wants to comment?
We have no one online. Thank you.
Help yourself to the floor, to the podium, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Trina Clark, and I live on 3 Beaulieu Drive. I have a few questions. In the presentation, there was a transportation study. So I think, are we allowed to have access to that study? Has council reviewed it because there were some good points about safety of in a school zone. And there's no sidewalks. And if you drove on that section of Burke Street between La Caron and Lorne, it's full of potholes and it's, I mean, all the roads, some roads are in better shape than others, but that road in particular is an issue. Also with the presentation about the arborist study, and I don't know what the process or what the, how would I say it? Some municipalities really support the environmental issues, and they also recognize the time of year when a subdivision starts. There, for instance, when Simcoe County built the seniors building in Victoria Harbor, they agreed with the township at that time, because I worked in that department, that they would not do any clear cutting of any trees until or before the birds come back from the south in the spring. And so it wouldn't impact the birds and wildlife because they're not there to see the trees cut down. So it was a really good environmental decision that council made, and I hope there's some sort of tree bylaw or something that can be addressed on that issue. Also, in the presentation, it said about stormwater management. So as my neighbor, that is a great question regarding lot grading, because it will impact some properties that do back onto that land. The other issue is in the presentation, it said it was going to use existing municipal water and sewer services. So where are the services going to be connected to? Because it's still not clear on Beaulieu with the gentleman with the 2 lots. He can't develop his lots because he doesn't have water and sewer connection because it's too expensive for the town to extend Beaulieu Drive. In the future, it might be done, but it's very, very expensive. So I want to know from the developer and council, is the existing municipal water and sewer, is it going to be connected from the seniors community? I'm sorry, I didn't mean see what the community next door. Is it going to be is the road going to be extended? Because that's going to impact Beaulieu Drive. If we first thought that the entrances were going to be from Beaulieu, now we see that it's facing Burke Street, but I also am concerned about where the water connections are going to be coming through, which will also affect lot grading. And that's it.
Thank you very much. The floor is yours. No, that's what this is for. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is, pardon me, Denise Schreck. I'm at 90 Burke Street, Unit 18. My question is more towards the visual. How are these townhouses going to look? We've seen just like squares and triangles, but what is the facade going to be like? Are they 1-story, 2-story, or what? Townhouses today can be either or. So I'm just looking at the visual. Once we drive down Burke, what is it going to look like? I'd like to see a picture or something about the visual of the building. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any comments or questions about this application? Okay, and I'll say one more time, if anyone in the audience wishes to make comments on this application based on land use planning issues relevant to the application, just make your way to the podium and state your name and address for the record. And Sarah, one more time, is there anyone online that wishes to comment?
We have no one online. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the applicant or their agent if you have any concluding comments that you wish to make.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to mention that all the files and reports that we have submitted are available on the Nethery Planning webpage for this development. And we are taking all your feedback into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. So Andrea, just for everyone's understanding, can you just help us understand what's the process look like from here? So tonight was a public's opportunity to comment, but there's no decision tonight. Can you just outline what that looks like, just so everyone's aware, and how they can access further meetings and be part of the conversation? If you can help us with that, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship, and through you two members of the public. So the public meeting is just one step in the process. Council has passed some guidance to staff on how the public gets notified of decisions being made around development applications. So as you've noted further on in the agenda, there's a recommendation from staff that we be directed to report back after hearing all the feedback and comments from the public, making sure that all the reports and technical studies that were submitted are complete and appropriate, that we'd report back to council at a future meeting with a recommendation and in responding to some of the questions asked. For those of you who have let us know that you want to be notified of that, we'll make sure that you get notified of a decision coming forward. And so when that decision comes forward, and it's difficult to predict when, but you will be notified a few days ahead of the meeting that there's a decision coming forward. The process is that it comes forward for committee of the whole, and then a final decision wouldn't happen until the following month when a council ratifies those decisions. And in this case would be a passage of a zoning bylaw. And that step would then trigger us to give notice to people that there's a decision being made and an appeal process has begun. So once a decision's made, there is an appeal time period where anybody who, or not everybody, the province has changed those. There are specified people who could file an appeals to any decision council makes, either on the subdivision or the zoning.
Thank you, Andrea. So there's still lots more opportunity to comment. Now, before I close this public meeting, I heard one more. Ooh, so is there a final comment or question on the file? What I'll do is I'll have you go to the podium, name and address for the record. Just this is a plain and act item.
Yeah, just if there's a process, I did get a letter there was a meeting last September, which was, I guess, a Wednesday council meeting. It was dated September 8th and postmarked September 11th, so it didn't arrive. I would thought that, it would arrive at an earlier time than that, like a couple of weeks or something like that. And I don't go to the post office box every day. So, when there was a meeting that, by the time you find out it's already passed, that doesn't help either.
Thanks.
Not a big thing, but.
Oh, it is a big thing. Thank you for telling us. Our Madam Director has acknowledged that, and we'll make sure proper notification. I'll have you come to the podium, name and address again for the record.
Judy Bales on 90 Burke Street, Unit 4. Okay, I just brought up on their page, and it says, we couldn't find the page you were looking for. This is either because there's an error in the URL entered into your browser, which I've checked, and the page you're looking for has been moved or deleted. So how can we look at it if this is what they've done?
Thank you very much for that. And our Madam Director just mentioned the process that will unfold from here. So a little later in the agenda tonight, we're going to ask staff to bring this forward at a future committee of the whole meeting. At that meeting, you're going to get all those reports on our council agenda, and you're going to get responses to questions. So there'll be lots of reading material. You'll be able to access that directly from our agenda. The director will notify when that will come out, when the time comes. It could be 1 month, could be 10 months, but that will be published in the near time. Madam Director?
Sorry, just to note too, as well, when we give notice of tonight's public meeting, at the same time on our www.connectpenetanguishene.ca site, we have a page called Development Applications that everything is publicly available there. I appreciate that their firm has it on their consultant page, but for our public notice and our transparency, it is linked from our notice part of our website as well as then on Connect Penetanguishene. Every file of active development is there together with all the background studies. So I know there was some interest in the traffic study that is there, the arborist report, all of that is there and publicly available for you guys to look at.
So for access to the information, I'll actually direct you to our staff that'll help you get access to that. Does anyone else podium, name and address, please?
My name is Trina Clark, 3 Beaulieu Drive. I think we got a little sidelined, and I'd like to still get a response from the developer with the outcomes and the questions, because we have to work together. So I'm hoping that the developer will consider some of the concerns that we do have, and we have a good project going with the needs of the community as well.
Thank you. The purpose of tonight, though, is not to have two-way discussion, ma'am. So again, our director has written down all the comments. It'll come forward at a future report. Okay, are there any final concluding comments for anyone? All right. I'm going to thank everyone for your attendance and participation for this public meeting regarding this application. Again, make contact with our staff. We'll make sure that we can get you information. More will be coming on this in the future. All right, Councillor, moving on to our next item, which is 9B. It's a zoning bylaw amendment ZA2-2024. It's regarding a town-initiated housekeeping amendment. This is a public meeting tonight under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA3-2024 for various housekeeping amendments. The proposed amendments impact all properties in the town of Penetanguishene. Andrew, I'm going to ask if you can introduce this application for us. Can you confirm if notification was made? And can you please note if any correspondence has been received? As well, can you please outline the proposal for us, please?
Thank you very much, Your Worship, members of the public. This is a municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment. We call it a housekeeping amendment. It is file number ZA2-2024. So notice of tonight's public meeting was given on July 18th. That was given through the North Simcoe and Springwater News, as well as the town's social media accounts and email news notice service. We have received a comment that was not on the agenda. You will receive it hard copy on your desk. These all will accompany a future report. There is a presentation that I think I'm going to quickly go through. Sorry, we're just working this out. And I'll try and describe some of the changes a little bit more in detail so you have them. Just give Sarah a second to pull it up. So maybe just to begin, this is an amendment to the town zoning bylaw 2022-17. This bylaw was passed by council back in 2022 on June 17th. And so for just over 2 years now, we've had the pleasure of working with the document. Because it was a complete repeal and replacement document, there's some fine tuning and some inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and some improvements we found we could make to the bylaw to enable it working better. So if we'll go into the next slide, as I noted that it was on July 10th this year that council did endorse the recommendation to undertake this housekeeping amendment. And as I noted, the notice was provided on Thursday, July 18th. So the changes affect the entire bylaw, both under the general provision section, as well as there's some specific properties that are also going to have some zoning rules addressed for them. So it does apply to the majority of properties in town because a lot of these are general changes, like the definitions. So there are 3 changes to the definitions to provide some clarity. This is around an attached and what a structure means. So we're clarifying what it means and what it doesn't. And in the case of a structure, to be clear, it's not a fence. A fence is not a structure. The other definition we've introduced is a new one regarding temporary tents. We've discovered that those temporary tents that sometimes get set for weddings or parties and such, they actually were not able to be constructed under the bylaw, so we had to put a provision in there. So we've defined what a temporary tent is, meaning it's a tarpaulin, a canvas, or supported by aluminum plastic framework, and is temporarily installed no more than 30 consecutive days and for no more than 30 days or 60 days in a calendar year. We've also proposing some changes for consistency around accessory buildings. So this has to do with their number size, number, height, and setbacks. So under the zoning bylaw, we had 2 different zone categories for based if you were in town in a residential zone or if you're out in the rural area. What we identified in working with the bylaw is if you were in the rural area, you have a minimum lot area of 2,000 square meters, but the bylaw said you could only you had to have a bigger lot to have more buildings. So what we've done is made the square footage area of a lot consistent with the zone standard, so that buildings all apply the same standards and you don't have a rule zone where you can have two different buildings of heights and sizes. It's a little complicated. It's just largely a consistency thing. The other change that we're putting back in the bylaw that came out inadvertently is a requirement for a setback from other accessory buildings. So our previous bylaw required 1.2 meters setback between sheds, for example, or between a shed and a house, and we are proposing to put that back in. Another change to the accessory buildings that we've noted, and it's been dealt with by the Committee of Adjustment on a couple of instances, is we're proposing in the rural or shoreline areas that you could have an accessory building in front of the main building. It's the way that this new bylaw applied, which would have said that your front yard was any of the yard in front of your house and that no buildings can be in the front yard. So this has come up, for example, on shoreline properties where they wanted to have a garage in front of the house and in their front yard is the water side. They would need to go for a variance. So we felt it was appropriate to permit them in front of the main building, but not in the front yard setback. So it will reduce some of those variance requests we do here while still maintaining the intent of the bylaw. Next slide. Probably the biggest impact we will have with these proposed changes is around conformity with Bill 23. We've spoken in front of council what Bill 23 means. It is a legislative change that the province made that means municipalities cannot prohibit or make rules that prohibit up to 3 dwelling units per property. And so in Bill 23, every service property in town can have up to 1 main building and 2 residential accessory dwelling units on the property. So that's 3 units per property. Under the 2022-17 bylaw, we had only had rules around 2 units. So now we had to create rules for that 3rd unit. And so that's what we've done. The images show what that could look like on the top screen, both 3 units in 1 building or 2 in the main building and 1 in a detached building. So those permissions will carry forward. So again, to try and bring that into compliance, we've looked at the regulations for sizes of the property, sizes for each unit. And again, to make it consistency, we had 2 different size of floor areas for apartments, one at 55 square meters and one at 60 square meters. We're proposing to make it consistent at having a permission for accessory dwelling units at 60 square meters. It's kind of tedious to have to apply 2 different standards for very minor reasons. And there was a bit of an oversight in that the permission for an additional dwelling unit in an R3 zone in a townhouse was missing from the permitted uses. So again, Bill 23 enables accessory dwelling units in single detached, semi-detached and townhouse units. That's what the municipality must provide. We just have to regulate it through performance standards. So we are, by adding this back in, we're in compliance with Bill 23. There was some other minor tweaks to the bylaw, just again for clarity and correction. So one of the regulations was about frontage onto a public street having to be through a plan of subdivision. I think that was just an error carried forward in the bylaw that we're going to remove. There was a bit of an oversight when it came to platform or porches, or what you may other call decks, where we didn't have regulations for platforms or porches over 3 meters in height. So you could have a porch, and that would be regulated in size and location. But if you put it over 3 meters in height, we had no standards for those and they could be any size. So we're just correcting some of these changes. As I noted, the definition for temporary tents, we've created the definitions and then put some rules in where they could be. Next slide. Minor changes to remove some duplication with barrier-free parking standards, and also to make some corrections to the language about permitted yard encroachments to specify that they can include staircases into the rear yard. Lastly, these other changes are to exception zones and holding zones. They are corrections that we've discovered since the new bylaw came into effect. There's a couple blocks on the new subdivision on Leahy where lot coverage was incorrectly added, so we would need to put that back into the bylaw. Corrections to the St. Andrews Village subdivision where we removed some permissions that they had asked for and had council approval, whereby public streets are through condominium roads. Previously, there was 6 properties, I'm sorry, I think there was 8 actually, 8 properties where the holding symbol they had applied, had council passed the bylaw to remove them. They inadvertently put the holding symbol back on when we updated the bylaw, so we're going to correct that one. And the last correction is really to one property on 60 Buller Road. That one was originally designed as a model home, and so when it was no longer used as a model home, we removed that permission, but it also had lot coverage permissions in it. So we're just extending the same permissions from the subdivision to the south that was inadvertently removed. So there's a lot of changes there, but they are fairly minor, and there's nothing substantial that isn't beyond making the bylaw more consistent, fixing errors that were inadvertently removed, and making it a little bit more user-friendly and compliant with rules. So tonight was our public meeting. We're proposing a recommendation reports with any feedback from council or the public for September, and proposing to potentially pass a bylaw in October for an appeal period ending early in November. And so this would all come into effect before the end of the year if proceeding as planned. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I'm going to ask if anyone in the audience wishes to make comments on the application based on land use planning issues relevant to this application. Sarah, is there anyone online that wishes to make a comment on this application?
We have no one online. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to thank everyone for their attendance and participation in this public meeting. We'll close this public meeting. Again, a motion will be on the agenda later in the evening, where we'll make a recommendation, bring this forward. Moving on, council, tenders are delegations and presentations, and we have a presentation from the Southern Georgian Bay Detachment Commander, Inspector Pittman, regarding the Community Safety Policing Act consultation. Inspector, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Evening, Council. Good to see everybody again. Under Section 70 of the... Is it live? How about now? I'll try to stand over here and not move around. Under Section 70 of the Community Safety and Policing Act, one of the responsibilities of the detachment commander is to review the existing detachment action plan, which we have in force from 2023 to 2025. And a part of that review involves several consultations. One of those consultations is with town councils that were responsible for policing. So I'm going around to the 5 municipalities that we serve, highlighting our key priorities, and then looking for comments back, if any. So in reviewing our plan, really we have 3 key priorities. The first key priority that we have is on crime, addressing and preventing crime in our policing area while maintaining investigative excellence. Really, that's about liaising, building those relationships with our victim services, looking at targeting intimate partner violence. I know last year the township of Penetanguishene declared the intimate partner violence an epidemic, if I'm not mistaken. As a detachment, we responded, which you don't know yet because our police services board are still coming, but we have implemented 2 positions dedicated to intimate partner violence and to combat that. And those are actually, interviews are happening this month, so it's forthcoming. We are looking at working obviously with our Crown attorneys, probation and parole, and our local shelters to support people that have been displaced and or victims of crime. We are educating youth. We are working with youth through the Wellness Hub. We have one of our community safety officers that does that pretty much full time as a part of her duties. We have our community street crimes unit, which is our drug team, essentially going out and enforcing. They will not only do drugs, they'll do property crimes. If I'm not mistaken, there was a warrant executed yesterday in the town of Penetanguishene, resulting in a recovered stolen BMW that we now have in our hands, being processed by our forensic identification team. We also have our MCERT team. So right now they're called CMART. That name is changing to MCERT, which is like a provincial standard for the OPP. And that's essentially our mental health response team. That's in place. I am doubling the amount of officers. That may sound fancy. However, we're going from 1 to 2. So trying to get more people out there and dealing with the amount of mental health occurrences that we do have in this area, which are quite high as compared to other communities. Shifting from crime, our second priority is roadways, waterways, trails. And that's just a continuous year-round focus on motorized vehicles, collisions, trail systems, and waterways within our policing areas. We are one of the fortunate detachments with a full-time marine unit. We have officers on the water, not year-round, but full-time. So 2 separate teams that we put out. Those same individuals, plus we have other officers trained on motorized snow vehicle, MSV. Last year was not a good year for MSV. We only, I think, got out twice on the skidoos before they had to be parked. So we'll see if we can get them out a bit more this year if Mother Nature cooperates. And one of the things that we don't have in detachment, but depending on what happens in some of our communities, I'm aware of some potential future bylaw changes. We may be looking to get some ATVs at the detachment to increase ATV patrols in our communities and to be more visible. So that's something that I'm well aware of. We'll continue to do our ride initiatives, focus patrols on high traffic complaint areas, directed patrols. We do directed foot patrols as well, just on areas where we have increased drug use and things like that. So we don't just do the foot, it's also the traffic initiatives, and we direct them, meaning that officers are dedicated to that area for specified times, stop sign issues, things like that. We'll continue to maintain partnerships with Ministry of Forestry, and the MTO and MNR. So we partner with them on the waters, not the MTO. We do commercial motor vehicle traffic safety blitzes with the MTO. And we're still yet to have one this year, which will be forthcoming as well to focus on the big trucks moving through our areas. There's a lot more that I could go on that, but I will skip in the interest of time. Last is community well-being, and that's really about partnerships and with the other community stakeholders within our town. And that's engaging, liaising, being a part of the committees, the discussion, and really looking for a whole of community approach to community well-being is a big focus for us. And that's something I have been pretty passionate about and have been engaging in several stakeholder meetings as of late. And as a matter of fact, I have another one scheduled for Friday. So those aren't slowing down, as well as touching base with our local businesses. Your worship, I think I heard you say that we're going to partner up on a foot patrol next week. It's important, I think, to hear from our businesses what's happening in our streets, what they're seeing, and to get the pulse of the community. So I'm happy that we're doing that. And I've also done the same in our neighboring municipality in Midland. In looking at how we're doing, I'll give you a brief update. Talking about motor vehicle collisions in our town. So I'm comparing statistics from 2022 right to current 2024 to this month. Overall, our MVCs as a whole, personal injuries, fatals, property damage are down 29.5%. I don't think that's by mistake. I think it's from some of the excellent work of the members of Southern Georgian Bay Detachment. When we look at our traffic-related charges, overall, our speeding charges, and this may be good or bad, however, our enforcement in Penetang specifically is up 86.2%. So there's quite a bit more enforcement here in town. Seatbelts are up 200%, the enforcement on those. Now, I will say that I think this is a good one. Our impaireds are down 31.6%. So I'm happy to say that. All to say that really the goal of traffic enforcement, traffic-related charges, and the next category that I'm going to talk about is warnings, which we're up 36.6%, is about enforcement. And then the warning portion is also about public education, trying to make people aware of the safety impacts, which I know is a very big concern of not only Penetanguishene, but all of our communities. And that's something that we're committed to. I have implemented several strategies and have another one coming as well on how we're going to further tackle some of our traffic-related issues and enforcement within our municipality. Violent crime overall. So I'm talking about homicides. We did have the one homicide last year. What else are we looking at? Attempted murders, sexual assaults, firearms offenses, robbery. So all the real serious violent crime. Overall, we're down 47% from 2022 to current today, which is a very good thing. So we're seeing drastic drops in our amount of sexual assaults and assaults, assault level ones, which are your kind of minor assaults, if there's such a thing, and other threats of violence. Our property crimes, so that's arsons, break-in enters, theft over, theft under 5,000 is a threshold. Possession of stolen goods, even though we just did recover a BMW yesterday, we are still down 32.5%, which is a good thing. So I think the percentage of change of the actual occurrences is what I'm talking about. It's not the enforcement. It's the amount of calls for service and issues for those things are going down, which is great for our overall community safety and well-being. Drug crime, we've had a decrease in 20% overall, which is your possession, trafficking, production, manufacturing. And our clearance rates, overall, we're doing quite well. For violent crimes, our clearance rates are quite high. We're 63.9%. Property crimes are 17%. The provincial average is usually around 20%. So we brought in last year, and we're still pushing it, trying to get things like the AmSafe initiative, trying to get people comfortable with coming and reporting these crimes to the police and identifying the people responsible. Property crimes are often the most difficult one to solve. And lastly, our Mental Health Act occurrences we're pretty much on track to be around the same rate as we were last year. Last year, we had 112 mental health calls. Specifically, to date, we're at 78. Whereas when you compare it to 2022, we're at 95 the whole year. So I think that we're probably going to be up around that 100+ mark again this year, just showing that mental health is on the rise in our communities and we need a response. And I will pause there for any questions or comments on the detachment action plan and the way that we are providing police services to the community.
Thank you, Inspector Pittman. Members of council, comments or questions regarding Inspector Pittman's strategic plan for our municipality? Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Your Worship. Inspector Pittman, we have excellent and good reports in our municipality about OPP, but the one thing that I get a lot of complaints about, speeding. And I try to indicate to the residents that it's not their particular street or that particular street. It seems to be throughout the town. So that's the only big issue that a lot of the people have.
I think that's definitely not lost on me, and it's something that I've heard too of interest. The number one complaint in the entire province of Ontario, speeding, is traffic complaints. It seems to be a widespread provincial issue, not to minimize it, but we are going to be dedicating more officers specifically to speed enforcement, and we're looking at tackling that a little bit more to slow people down.
Thank you, Councillor Roux. Councillor Vadabunker, do you have a comment or question?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. All right, Inspector Pittman, I think it's light comments and questions from here, but I want to thank you. I think the last time you were here, or since then, you've been appointed as the permanent detachment commander for Southern Georgia Bay. So congratulations. Welcome to the community. We're glad to have you. I'd also echo Councillor Roux's comments about speeding, but I will state I have noticed and I've heard from members of the public that we're seeing increased policing presence, and you identified that by your 86% stat. So thank you for the work that you and your members are doing in the community. I also really appreciated the comment you made about the intimate partner violence and that you're actively in recruitment this week. So I love hearing how some of the stuff we did a few meetings ago in your Peter to the fire and your movement. So thank you for that. I look forward to more progress as we roll out our new police board. Thank you so much. Councillor Roux, follow up.
Thank you again, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, Inspector Pittman, if you might introduce your cohort this evening. I don't think that many of us have met. I believe it looks like Sergeant.
He is Acting Staff Sergeant Michael Burrows. Michael is filling in for Staff Sergeant Janot, who is away at Central Region Headquarters doing a data integrity project, making sure that the numbers that we're giving here are factually correct and accurate. So it's something we've been doing a deep dive in organizationally. So Staff Shanot Sayre and Acting Staff Sergeant Burrows has been doing a tremendous job filling in and is eager to learn and see what the detachment commander does in a day. So he's decided to come along with me here tonight. Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Roux. Welcome, Sergeant Burrows. Inspector Pittman, I don't need a response tonight, but just something that I recall our last police service board, Councillor Vedabunker brought up a comment about how you're going to deploy resources into the future. I know that's a big conversation, but about how our community policing office is going to fit into that strategy. So I'll just put that in your hat unless you've got something you want to comment on that.
Well, I do have an answer. Thank you, Your Worship. The answer is that we ended up closing the office when we lost one of our detachment administrative clerks, because then we had nobody to work the front desk. We still do have officers going in and utilizing the office, however. After that comment from Councillor Vedamkur, I went out and consulted with Region. So we have, and this is not new for council, I don't believe, it's staffing deployment model. It's the way that we're going to future staff the detachments and the amount of staff that we're going to get. So of interest right now, we're actually getting more staff. I think we're having another 5. We had 3 new staff start this week, and we're getting another 5 by February. So we're actually overstaffed a little bit in the office. One of the overstaffs that I would like to have, and I'm actively working on, is another detachment administrative clerk. If I can get that clerk, then we will reopen the Penetanguishene office for walk-in service in the detachment, and that's something I'm working on.
Thank you, Inspector. Appreciate that. And I appreciate Councillor Vedabunker bringing that forward. Thank you so much for the work you and your members do again, and appreciate you updating our council tonight. Thank you. All right, council, moving on. 11's our adoption minutes not already confirmed. I have a motion that the following minutes of council meetings be confirmed and adopted as circulated. I have council for July the 10th, 2024, and special council for July 24th, 2024. I'll look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor Waters. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 12 is appointments for our section committee appointments. I have a motion of the council of the town of Penetanguishene ratify the council member appointments to the town sections as presented by the mayor, and that the section committee appointments take effect September the 11th, 2024 for the remainder of the council term. We have Finance and Corporate Services section. Councillor Suzanne Marchand is chair. Councillor Bill Waters, vice chair. Transportation Environmental Services section. Councillor George Vedabunker, chair. Deputy Mayor Dan LaRose, vice chair. Recreation Community Services section. Councillor Doug LaRue, chair. Deputy Mayor Dan LaRose, vice chair. Planning and Development Services section. Councillor Benita DeRush, chair. Councillor Bill Waters, vice chair. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, second. Councillor LaRue, comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? We not get enough vote on this one. And opposed. That is carried. B is the SSCA board alternate. The council approves the appointment of Councillor Benita DeRush as board alternate for the Severn Sound Environmental Association for the remainder of council term. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor Waters. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed. And that is carried. 13 consent agenda. We have none this evening. Matters for consideration. 14A. It's regarding background of public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment ZA 8-2024 and draft plan of subdivision Pen Sub 2024-02 for 128 Burke Street. It's file PL 2024-42. The motion is that the public meeting report PL 2024-42 for the zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA 8-2024 and draft plan subdivision file number Pen Sub 2024-02 concerning 128 Burke Street be received, and that any matters identified in the report PL 2024-42 and at the public meeting be addressed in a report to the committee of the whole. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Roux, second. Councillor Waters, comments or questions? My mistake. Deputy Mayor LaRose.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a couple of things, Andrea. One was they're asking for a relief in the amount of lot coverage, wanting to be able to cover more lot. when I look at that property, it has a lot of room in the back of that property. So my question is, why would we want to give them relief on size, let them overbuild, make that a crowded site when they have all that room that is available at the back? You don't need to answer it. You just need to have it in your comments.
Yeah, thank you very much through you, Your Worship, to Deputy Mayor LaRose. I think there's two things happening, and we'll definitely respond with the staff report around that question and concern. I think the larger the lots they make, the less land they would have left for future development in the remaining lands. But also the lot coverage increase is a bit of a factor because of the lot area and lot frontage decrease. So it's larger. It's a larger building on a smaller property, or it's a large building on a small property that is the requirement for the lot coverage increase. But this is some of the questions and comments we'll address at a future report.
Follow up, Deputy Mayor.
And it brings me to my next problem is we have pickup now for garbage and recycling and green bins. So every unit has 3 large bins, just like we all do. When they crowd the site so close to the road, it doesn't leave any space for you to put your bins. So you'd have to put them in your garage. If you put them in your garage, then you only down to 1 parking space. And we're going to have a problem with people parking on the road constantly. So if they were to move the properties back, get rid of 1 unit or so and shrink them a little bit this way, there would be enough room for that, snow storage, sidewalk, those types of issues.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Vadabonker.
Thank you, Your Worship. The public meeting tonight dealt with 2 components. There was the rezoning component, and then there was the plan of subdivision. And Deputy Mayor LaRose has talked a little bit about the plan of subdivision. The rezoning, the question with respect to the back portion of the lands. As I understand their zoning proposal is that they're proposing to rezone the entire property with an exception zone, not leave the back portion in the current D zone. And as outlined in your report, the D zone is essentially a holding zone until such time as the municipality receives a development proposal for the property. And as far as I know, we haven't received a development proposal for the back portion. So I'm just wondering if it might be more appropriate that the back portion remain in the D zone and the front portion be subject to the exception zone. So Madam Director, I'll leave that with you. I think Deputy Mayor LaRose raised the questions with respect to lot coverage. And a member of the public commented about the arborist report and tree preservation. And with the houses being pushed up fairly close to Burke Street, there's not going to be a great opportunity for tree preservation. So if the houses, the frontages of the houses could be pulled back a bit from the edge of Burke Street, there might be an opportunity to preserve some of the trees on that lot. Your Worship, I have some other comments as well. I'm not sure if you want me to take a break now and allow for others to comment, or should I continue?
I'll have you continue, Councillor Vadabonker. It's easier when you're connected.
Thank you. So a member of the public raised a comment about Burke Street and the condition of Burke Street in that section between Le Caron and Lorne Avenue, and that individual's right. That section of Burke Street is in poor repair. And I was just curious, will the developer have an obligation under the subdivision agreement to repair Burke Street or to upgrade Burke Street? And what I mean by upgrade, there was a comment about sidewalks along Burke Street to facilitate pedestrians walking along there. So I'm just raising that as a couple of issues under the subdivision agreement component of the public meeting. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabonker. Director Betty, any follow-up on those, or just be come forward in staff report? Okay. Council, any other comments or questions? Councillor Waters.
My concerns were the sidewalk and the lot size and parking, but also students now are taking a shortcut through that property and through the Covenant Church property to get to St. Anne's. When this proper development goes through, they're going to have to walk all the way around the block, and there's no sidewalks. And I'm wondering if that is something that would be addressed in.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Council, any other comments or questions on this? Oh, okay, we have a mover and a seconder. We're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed. That item is carried. 14B is regarding our background of the public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment ZA 2-2024, which is a town initiated housekeeping amendment PL 2024-41. That the public meeting report PL 2024-41 zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA 2-2024 be received, and that any matters identified in the report PL 2024-41 and at the public meeting be addressed in a future report to committee of the whole. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Roux, second by Councillor Marchand. Comments and questions? Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to our Director Andrea. Andrea, when we had our meeting, you mentioned something to the effect about basement apartments. Is this going to be part of the zoning bylaw amendment? Could you explain that, please?
Thank you, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor LaRue. So that is one of the proposed regulation changes that we've proposed to enable entire basements to be used as either one or two additional dwelling units. It was something that we had in the old bylaw that it makes sense and is probably from a construction side of things easy to create basement apartments when you can set aside the whole basement for that use, or one or two apartments. And so the way the bylaw currently reads is you would only be able to use 45% of the floor area. So it's often meaning that you have to split up the basement, which doesn't make sense from any common sense and from a construction purpose. So I think too, in the letter that you would have received on desk, that was their specific comment as well, as having that permission to renovate in a basement for an apartment. So that will be a change that is being proposed.
Thank you. A follow-up, Councillor Roux, are you good? Councillor Marchand, did you have your hand up?
Thank you for the overview of the changes, and I think there's been lots of questions about Bill 23, and this really assisted in clarity and just in cleaning up the bylaw. My only concern, having two children, it now means that I could never get rid of them. So I just, no, not for the minutes. I'm just,
Get that, Doug?
Did you get that? Did my kids, are they watching me live tonight? No, I think it's really important. It's that balance in terms of how we adjust these changes as it relates to Bill 23 in terms of providing affordable housing, adding additional dwellings, because we are in a crisis right now when our children can't buy homes. And this is what a lot of families are having to do. So although I'm saying it tongue in cheek, because I do have two children, they do joke about, living in the basement. Well, guess what? I can now put in an additional home in the back. But this is really the reality of what we're facing. And it's just, this is a double-edged sword with this particular change. I think provincially we're all kind of grappling with it. But I appreciate the time that was put into it and just the consistency in cleaning up the act, so that, this is the biggest probably learning area for me as a new member of council, and just this is a complex plan and act. And so it's good to see that we're consistent and we're doing those cleanups and that we're addressing these things that are in front of us. And it makes our job somewhat easier to kind of explain, but just kidding, kids, you can stay for as long as you want as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Councillor Vadabonker.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I have a question with respect to one of the slides. It showed the proposed maximum size of an accessory apartment or accessory unit being at 64 square meters. And when you do the conversion, I think that works out to be about 650 square feet. And apartments of that size are quite small. And I was wondering, was that a typo, or is that was intended? To follow up on what Councillor Roux and Councillor Marchand were commenting, if you renovate your basement, say in a 1,200 square foot home, and you have that whole basement as an apartment, it's much larger than the maximum of 65 square meters or 650 square feet. So I was just curious on that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabonker. Director Betty.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. The regulations and trying to come up with how to appropriately capture floor area sizes for apartments is a bit of a challenge. I think we have two sort of criteria that we use. One is a maximum square footage area of 60 square meters. And the second one is a percentage of the overall floor area itself. So it is a bit of a challenge to try and figure out what is appropriate. This was the recommendation that I think was from the consultant back in 2022. That was the maximum size of an additional dwelling unit that was in there. So the proposed change of what we're doing is just bringing up our lower standard of 55 square meters up to that 60. I do see what you're saying around there's some challenges with that somewhat restrictive maximum size when you have a fairly large home. And so that's in this situation, I think the way that, or the bylaw is intended to read for a basement, it doesn't really matter what that 60 square meters is, it's the entire basement that can be used. So that's the way that it's intended to be applied. But otherwise the standard would be 60 square meters, for example, in a detached building. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, or I will do some further refinement in the next report to sort of help explain how that works.
Councillor Vadabonker, follow up.
Thank you, Worship. And I appreciate the complexity because you're dealing with all kinds of different types of residential units, and to try to put a maximum in and have that apply across the board is somewhat challenging. Some jurisdictions have put in a requirement that whatever the size is, it has to be a percentage less than whatever the size of the main building. So, for example, if the house was 2,000 square feet, the accessory apartment has to be less than 1,000 square feet. It can't be the majority size of the unit. It has to be the minority. So they've used that concept as opposed to a finite number. And I'll just leave that with the director to explore, and perhaps she could report back when this matter comes back. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members, comments or questions? Seeing none, we're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That item is carried. 14C is regarding results of a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment ZA 7-2024 regarding 40 Edward Street, file number PL 2024-43. That the zoning bylaw amendment, file number ZA 7-2024, application be approved on the basis that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to all applicable provincial plans, the County of Simcoe official plan, the Town of Penetanguishene official plan, and represents good planning for the reasons outlined in staff report PL 2024-43. And that a bylaw to amend the Town of Penetanguishene comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 be passed to apply a holding symbol in accordance with staff report PL 2024-43. And further, that a bylaw to dedicate a 0.3 meter reserve legally described as block 117 registered plan 51M-355 as a public highway be passed. I'm going to look for a mover. Deputy Mayor Leroux, seconder. Councillor Roux, comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 14D is regarding Fuller Avenue pole anchor parcel expropriation application ENG 2024-14. That council approved the application to expropriate land, which is described as part of lot 116 concession 2, geographic township of Tay, now in the town of Penetanguishene, being part of PIN 58446-0017 bracket LT bracket for the purpose of the construction, maintenance, and operation of public utilities and related, and that word's going to trip me, Brian.
Appurtenances?
There you go. Thereto required for the Fuller Avenue intersection improvements project. And that staff bring forward a bylaw authorizing the execution of an application for approval to expropriate land and notice of application for approval to expropriate land. I'm going to look for a mover. Deputy Mayor LaRose, seconder, Councillor Marchand. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. 14E, it's regarding additional funds for Wash Bay Construction, RDS 2024-14. It reads that the contract for the Wash Bay Construction Project be awarded to Bertram Construction and that an additional allocation of $69,249.77 be made available as a contingency to address change orders or additional work orders. Going to look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, seconder. Councillor Waters, comments or questions? Seeing none, we're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. Sorry, it's just a bit of a delay on. 14F is regarding 10-year development charges background study and bylaw. FIN 2024-17. That council confirms its intent to ensure that the increase in the need for services attributable to the anticipated development will be met, subject to sufficient development charge revenues being generated and other town affordability being met. And the council confirms its intent that the future excess capacity identified in the study shall be paid for by the development charges or other similar charges. And that council adopt the development charges calculated in the development charges background study dated August the 14th, 2024, effective September the 1st, 2024. And that council adopt the capital forecast prepared in conjunction with the development charges background study for the town of Penetanguishene dated August the 14th, 2024. And further, that no further public meetings are required under Section 12 of the Development Charges Act. And finally, that a bylaw be brought forward for council approval. A mover, Councillor LaRue. Seconder, Councillor Waters. Sarah, do we still have Councillor Vadabunker?
We do. He's just stepped away from a moment.
Okay, thank you. Council, comments or questions? Seeing none, we're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. All right, moving on, Council. 15's presentation, consideration reports from the Committee of the Whole from last month. So we'll start with Transportation Environmental Services section. Councillor Marchand, please.
Thank you. For our last meeting, for the July 10th Committee of the Whole meeting, we had no consent agenda items. We did have 3 matters for consideration. First one being the award for the RFP to JDM Lines for paving. The second was the RFP. They were also successful for JDM for the asphalt RFP that was submitted. And the third report was the surplus equipment policy update and revision. And then there was no additional items added to the referral agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. The motion reads that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to the Transportation Environmental Services section be approved. It's moved by Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor DeRush. Comments or questions? Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Waters for the Recreation Community Services section, please.
Last month, the Recreation Community Service had 2 consent agenda items. Both were nothing too exciting. They were the Museum and Heritage Advisory Committee meeting minutes, and the Penetanguishene Library Board minutes. There were no matters for consideration, and for referrals, the accessibility maps was removed and skateboard park carried, which we'll be talking about Council of the Whole.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. We have a motion. The recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to the Recreation Community Services section be approved. It's moved by Councillor Waters, second by Deputy Mayor LaRose. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. Councillor Roux, you're bringing the Planning and Development Services section.
Thank you, Your Worship. When we had a report from Director of Planning on Bill 185, receiving royal assent, dealing with Development Charges Act, the Municipal Act, and the Planning Act. We received the draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment applications for 128 Burke Street. We dealt with the land acquisition request for 51 Dunlop Street, Burkeville Protestant Separate School. We received a report from Hemson Consulting Re, the 2024 Development Charges Study, which we've dealt with tonight. And then we have the public meeting held rezoning bylaw amendment concerning 40 Edward Street. And the other thing I want to add, Your Worship, that is not there, it's just to remind everyone that the ATV ORVs are set to go September 1st on the one-year trial.
Councillor Leroux, thank you very much. We have a motion of the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report relating to the Planning Development Service section be approved. It's moved by Councillor Roux, seconded by Councillor Vadebunker. Comments or questions? Councillor Vadebunker, question?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to have the recommendation dealing with the request from the Penetanguishene Protestant Separate School Board separated out and voted separately. And then I have some comments on it, if I may.
Happy to, Councillor Vadebunker. Any other members, comments or questions on the rest of the items? We'll pull out the Burkeville piece. Maybe Madam Clerk, you can just help me with what item the number that was. Any other members? Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote on the remaining items of the Committee of the Whole report, and then we'll come back to Councillor Vadebunker. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. Councillor Vadebunker, we'll just get the what item that was in the Committee of the Whole report, unless you have that.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is 8BI.
Thank you very much. Councillor Vadebunker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Worship. I just thought I'd start off with a question to yourself. I know that you've had some conversations with officials from Burkeville, and I know they've been dealing with the Ministry of Education with respect to their exciting new build. Do you have anything to update council with respect to any items pertaining to the construction or the build of the new school?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Vadebunker. I have had one conversation with one board trustee to update the timelines and what's occurred to this point. I also had one quick phone call with MPP Dunlop about the file and specifically about timelines. Is the timeline strict or is there latitude? After those two calls, I've not had any further follow-up with anyone from Burkeville.
Thank you, Your Worship. So then I'm led to believe then that Burkeville is still operating under the direction from the Ministry of Education that they have to get this shovels in the ground ASAP, which somewhat hampers the municipality in undertaking a public consultation process in terms of what it would like to see for 51 Dunlop. It's very disappointing. I mentioned this at our July 10th Committee of the Whole or council meeting, and I was very disappointed leaving the chamber that evening. I felt that you know, that I guess I could say the royal we, but Burkeville has been after a new school for as long as I can remember. You know, as I was the administrator, the CAO for 10 years here, and that was certainly an issue. And I've been a member of the community for 29 years, and it's been a long-standing issue of Burkeville wanting a new school, and it doesn't seem to me to make sense that we couldn't just delay another year, as despite Burkeville and how anxious they are, to allow for the municipality to undertake a consultation process with the community to see what it would like to see at 51 Dunlop. I'm just really disappointed about it because I look at this as a generational opportunity. We're not going to get another opportunity like this for a long, long time to work collaboratively with a Board of Education and developing a community hub with recreation components and whatnot. So I'm really disappointed. I appreciate your efforts, Your Worship. I appreciate the efforts of Burkeville School and, there are many volunteers and their board members. It's just unfortunate we've come to this point that, with their request for 4 acres, that we're not able to declare 4 hectares or, no, 4 acres. We're not able to declare 4 acres, 4 hectares surplus to the municipality's needs. It's just, it's disappointing, and I think it's acres. I think it's a minimum 4 acres that they need. So I'm very disappointed that we're not in a position to do that. The motion does talk about to continue to work with the Protestant Separate School Board to assist in facilitating a planning process for a school in Penetanguishene. So I'm hopeful that maybe, you know, by some miracle, maybe the Ministry of Education will change its mind and maybe we'll have an opportunity to revisit this. But I know that for the time being, that's the way it is. So consistent with what happened at Committee of the Whole, Your Worship, I will not be supporting this motion as presented. And as I said, I appreciate all the hard work that went into getting this to where we were and the conversations, but I just I'm very I'm disappointed, and I can't really support it. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabunker. Any other member of council comments or questions on this? Just to reiterate, Councillor Vadabunker, I would agree with you. I'm disappointed as well, but I think this is just the fact of the process. We've worked hard. We started the work on creating the committee and working. I think staff went above and beyond to collaborate with Burkeville. And I think we've all put our best foot forward to make this become a reality. But I do believe the window for the bill has been, you know, an external force, and it's hard for us to continue this collaborative fashion when right now the main goal for Burkeville is to acquire land so they can build the right school for their needs. So I think we've done a fabulous job on this. I appreciate you can't move this, Councillor Vadabunker, because you probably won't support the motion. So I'd be happy to move, or maybe another member would be happy to move. But I'm going to ask the CEO. We brought a motion forward months ago about creating a task force, and this task force was about work in a collaborative fashion with Burkeville on what is the future needs of that land going to look like in the collaborative hub. I'm wondering if now is the time that we put this into this motion and we collapse that committee, because it was solely created for that purpose. I still think there's a lot of work we need to do on 51 Dunlop. I think there's a lot of consultation work, but I think that task force was truly based on Burkeville's request last fall. That's how we brought that forward. Would you appreciate that tonight might be the night that we add a motion that we collapse that? My feeling is yes, but I'd love to hear your perspective there.
Through you, Your Worship, I would agree. I would concur. We've had a little bit of discussion internally at a staff level about the need and the value for that task force, given the purpose of why it was set up. And I think it was very clear in the motion why it was set up, to the point that you just made. So I would certainly concur that that would be a prudent step, given what committee voted on last month, and pending the decision this evening at council.
Thank you, CEO Lees. All right, council, we have the remaining item from the committee of the whole report from last month. Councillor Vadabunker asked to remove that to further discuss it. He's mentioned he's going to vote oppose that. So I'm going to look for a mover, if someone would be willing to move that, and or if you want to make an amendment to this committee work. Any member wish to move this? Deputy Mayor LaRose? Okay, and a seconder? Councillor Marshall. So that'll be the motion that we brought last month on the committee. I'll look to the mover and the seconder. Do we want to look at adding the piece about the committee, or do you want to leave it what we discussed last month?
I think we could add it.
Okay, and I'll look to the seconder. Okay, I'm going to turn to the CEO. Is the language clear on what we're voting on? And if so, could you just add some clarity? The mover and seconder want to add on the piece about collapsing that committee.
Your Worship, can you just give us 2 minutes just to pull together some information? We just want to make sure it's structured appropriately.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Councillor Vedabunker, your hand is up. Is this on the motion or clarity on this, or do you want to wait till we get clarity on the motion?
I can wait till we get clarity on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. So the motion from last month's meeting was that council of the town of Penetanguishene confirm that the 5.5 hectares, 13.6 acres of land at 51 Dunlop Street be required for future municipal needs, and that the staff be directed to continue to work with PSSB, Protestant Separate School Board, to assist and facilitate the planning process for this future school in Penetanguishene, and that we discontinue the need for the ad hoc committee for 51 Dunlop Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to turn to the mover. Good. And the seconder. And Councillor Vedabunker has a question. I'll turn to Councillor for question and then we'll vote. Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you, Worship, and I apologize for any background noise. I question the need for the amendment at this particular time. I know the wheels of government work very, very slowly, and who knows what the work that our MPP Jill Dunlop is doing behind the scenes with respect to potentially buying another year of deliberation. I don't see the need really to strike that committee at this particular time. If by chance we do get that extension, we'll have to kick things into high gear and see what we can do to at least explore the opportunity of providing 4 acres to the Penetanguishene Protestant Separate School Board. So I don't know the benefit of the amendment at this particular time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vedabunker. Council, any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor.
Just one, Your Worship, in response to Councillor Vedabunker, we could restart a new task force at any time if the need arises.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments or questions? We're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That item carries. Thank you, Council. We're going to move on to our Finance and Corporate Services section. Councillor DeRush.
Certainly. Thank you. Finance and Corporate Services had 3 consent agenda items. The first was a memo from the Director of Finance regarding a draft 10-year development charges background study and a draft development charges bylaw. The second was a communications and social media activity report for January to June 2024. And the last was a memo from the CAO regarding an update on the CNCC policing costs. There was one matter for consideration, and it was regarding the digital sign design selection. It was recommended that staff proceed with option 1 and that priority be given to the Robert Street West and Champlain Road location. There were 2 items added to the referral items. The first was funding for the GBGH MRI expansion project, and the second was options for warming and cooling centers. On behalf of the section, I ask that Council approve the recommendations as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRush. We have a motion. The recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to the Finance and Corporate Services section be approved. It's moved by Councillor DeRush. It's seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. 16 is presentation, consideration, and report from special committees. We have none. 17, motions of which notice has been previously given. We have none. 18 is notice of motion. Any members of council wish to present a notice of motion? Councillor Waters.
I'd like to present a notice of motion. It refers back to an email which I think council received on July 9th, and a verbal presentation that was made on July 10th. And the motion would be, let's get I got a cheat sheet here. The council provide an exemption to bylaw 2014-29, being a bylaw to prohibit or regulate the keeping of certain animals within the town of Penetanguishene to resident Sarah Laddiser in order to allow her to house a pig. And I'd just like to add that for anybody old enough to remember Green Acres and Arnold the pig, I'm not going to say that that pig was based on the pig that I had as a pet, but there's a good possibility. So anyways, I would like to make this as a notice of motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. So that's a notice of motion being brought forward tonight for next month. We won't be debating this tonight, Council. I'm just going to turn to the CO or Madam Clerk. Do we need a seconder on this notice of motion? No? Okay, thank you. So that'll appear on next month's agenda, everyone. 19 is consideration of bylaws. Council, before I read them all, does anyone wish to pull any for further discussion or debate? Okay. That the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw 2024-33 being a bylaw to establish development charges for the Town of Penetanguishene and to repeal Penetanguishene Development Charge Bylaw 2019-49. Bylaw 2024-34 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the Corporation Town of Penetanguishene and Christine Patnode for the operation of the concession booth, the Snack Shack at Penetanguishene Memorial Community Center for the period of September 1st, 2024 to March the 31st, 2028. Bylaw 2024-35 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2022-17 as amended of the Corporation Town of Penetanguishene. Bylaw 2024-36 being a bylaw to establish a 1-foot reserve on Wright Court illegally described as Block 117, Registered Plan 51M-355 as a dedicated public highway. Bylaw 2024-37 being a bylaw to authorize the entering into an agreement with Rogers Communications to establish a locate protocol. Bylaw 2024-38, a bylaw to authorize an application for approval to expropriate land being part of Lot 116 Concession 2, Geographic Township of Tay, now in the Town of Penetanguishene, being part of PIN 58446-0017 bracket LT bracket, that the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduce, I had already read that, the following bylaws, and that the bylaws be read a first time, deemed to be read a second time, a third time, and carried. A mover? Deputy Mayor LaRue. A seconder? Councillor Roux. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That carries. Deputy Mayor, County of Simcoe.
Thank you, Your Worship. We did.
Yes, that's what it is.
Is he stuck? Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. We did have one meeting off this summer, so we weren't all busy. We did have one on Tuesday, and that was a lot of housekeeping items. But there are two things I wanted to bring up. On Monday, I was representing the county at the grand opening of the new doctor's offices in Georgian Village. The doctor's practice that is there, he needed more doctors. He had more doctors that wanted to come, so we took an unused portion of the building and added it on, and we got a tour, and it's absolutely great with 3 new doctors coming. So that was a good thing. Later on Monday, I was able to attend on behalf of the county to a check presentation at GBGH for $1.2 million towards the MRI and stuff going on there. We got a tour of what was going on, and they said they would be open for business in February, taking the first patient. The only bad part about it was he said they had 4,000 people registered, that they're only behind by. So, but it's coming, it's working along, and that'll get us in better shape.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for attending those. I was away and I appreciate you making flying the flag for us. I appreciate that. Council announcements and inquiries. Any announcements? Councillor LaRue.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually have three announcements. One is that the curling club up in Penetanguishene is now accepting memberships for the 2024 season. Touching on Councillor Rush's points about amphitheater, just to remind everyone that this coming Friday at 6 o'clock, we have the group Brothers, which is an excellent group. So, and I wasn't able to attend last Friday, but I went by and my God, what a crowd. It's been a great success. Beautiful. And finally, the seniors barbecue Thursday, September 5th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Penetanguishene Centennial Museum, $7 per person. Entertainment by Dylan Locke.
Thank you, Councillor LaRue. Any other members? Any announcements or inquiries? COLs, any announcements on behalf of the municipality?
Not for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
I will let everyone know, if you don't already know, the Métis Nation of Ontario is hosting their annual AGM at Discovery Harbour. They've invited everyone in the community to come out and learn about the Métis Nation of Ontario. So if you have an opportunity to go by Discovery Harbour this weekend, make your way there. I think it'll be a great time. All right. Council, number 22 is our confirmation bylaw. We have a motion that the confirmation bylaw 2024-39 be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. Moved by Councillor LaRue, second by Councillor Marchand. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. We're going to look for an adjournment at 9:01 p.m. Moved by Councillor DeRush, second by Councillor Waters. We'll reconvene committee of the whole in 10 minutes. Thank you. All right, council, welcome back. We're going to call our committee of the whole meeting to order for Wednesday, August the 14th, 2024 at 9:11 p.m. Number 2 is our approval of the agenda. It's recommended that the committee of the whole agenda for August the 14th, 2024 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Deputy Mayor LaRose. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 3 is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Any members have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. 4 is presentations, delegations. We have none. 5 is our council information package. Do any members wish to pull anything from the council information package? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wonder if we can pull from the July 24th CIP, item 1B.
Okay, any other members wish to pull anything else? Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you, Worship. I didn't hear what the deputy mayor pulled.
He pulled from July 24th, 2024, item 1B.
Okay, excellent. That was what I was going to ask to be pulled as well. Thank you.
No problem. All right, council, we'll vote on the rest of them then. So the motion is that the council information packages have been given due consideration, be received for information, minus the 1B on July 24th. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor LaRue, second by Councillor Marchand. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Deputy Mayor LaRose.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a letter from the Township of Tay regarding the SSEA funding formula, and they have asked us to support their request. So I think it would be prudent on our part to look after this, deal with it, and give them an answer so they're not hanging, waiting for us or not waiting for us.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vedabunker, you wanted to speak to this as well, I understand.
Yes, thank you, Worship. The deputy mayor basically said what I was going to say. There was a letter from the Township of Tay on our June 5th CIP, and I missed it. And it was a request from the Township of Tay for the municipalities that participate as part of the Severn Sound Environmental Association to review the agreement and the funding formula that governs the Severn Sound Environmental Association. So we missed it there, and I'm appreciative of the deputy mayor raising it tonight, because I think there's an opportunity to have this matter go on a referral so that we could address it and respond back to the Township of Tay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vedabunker. Deputy Mayor.
I just wonder, Your Worship, do we need to go back to a referral, or do we just want to agree with the recommendation that's presented from Tay Township?
So this item is for discussions. Maybe we'll let everyone comment, and then we can craft the motion how you would like it. Councillor Marshall.
I think for clarity, if we were to go back to the letter that we received from the from Tay Township, it is not the same motion that is being expressed here through our colleagues. This one does talk about an independent third-party contractor doing the review. Tay was looking for it to be done amongst the committee and board members. I sit as the Penetanguishene representative on the SSEA board, and I can confirm that that absolutely was the direction of that motion. This one is very specific about using a third party, which I would be in support of. There are certainly lots of discussions around the budget and how costs are distributed. About the agreement that does exist. I think there is a need to modernize the existing agreement and outline a few more things so that everybody who is there truly understands their portion, what they're getting for it, and really the benefit of the SSEA and the amount of savings that we have by having them doing the amazing work that they do for all of us. So just to clarify, I think it really needs to be clear that the motion or the letter that was presented by Tay is very different than the one that we're talking about now.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Any other members, comments or questions? Okay, maybe we'll turn it to the CO for a comment. I know we've had some conversations, at least myself and the deputy mayor have, with Tate Township, and really to what you just mentioned, Councillor Marchand, it's really about the funding formula and modernizing the agreement so that it takes the current reality. Some aspects are 20 plus years old, and that's really what Tate was looking for. I know after they sent that out to member municipalities, there wasn't as much appetite that the board did that work, that they relied on a third party consultant. That's what Georgian Bay and Severn and the like have led to. CO Lees, does it make sense to send this back as a referral and staff do some of this, or we just endorse option A or option B? I'm hearing from Councillor Marchand, like the Georgian Bay Severn analogy, like a third party, that we just ratify that tonight, or do you see value bring that to staff review?
Through your worship, my suggestion would be that we not push this back as a referral item. I think, you know, we're one of 8 municipalities that is ultimately being asked to support an approach here. I think we've heard from our board member, Councillor Marchand, for some clarity, which is good. And because to her point, Tay's original ask and what Georgian Bay and Severn, I believe, have come back with is slightly different. I think in an effort not to delay this, I think it makes sense, you know, that council with some concurrence from our board member, support the approach or not that has been presented. You know, as I said, I would just hate to see this get delayed. Certainly we can take it through that process, but I don't think that would be the intent or provide necessarily a different outcome than just proceeding with either supporting or not, and really at the end of the day, rely on the board at SSEA, who we're well represented on, to make sound decisions on behalf of us, which is one of 8 member municipalities.
Thank you, Elise. So I'm going to turn to the deputy mayor and Councillor Vedabunker. You guys pulled us to want to discuss on how you envision you'd like to see this look. I think Councillor Marchand brought up a good point about are we taking Tay's initial point? Are we looking at the third party perspective? And I think for clarity, we should craft up a motion and bring that forward. So Deputy Mayor, comments, and then I'm going to go to Councillor Vedabunker.
I'm okay with it the way it's written on the CIP.
Councillor Vedabunker.
Thank you. I appreciate the deputy mayor's comments with respect to wanting and don't want to deal with it tonight, and also the CAO's comments. I think it makes sense. The letter from Tay was dated May 29th. It was on our June 5th referral, and here we are August. So I think if council can see its way clear to dealing with it, had not the deputy mayor raised the issue under the referral tonight, I would have raised the issue of the letter from Tay, the original letter, and basically as Councillor Marchand indicated, that the Township of Tay had requested that the Severn Sound Environmental Association funding formula and letter of agreement be reviewed and updated. So that was what I was requesting to be brought back, and that the municipality respond in the affirmative. The mechanics of who does it and how it's done, I think that could be a discussion for another day. For me, it was more that the town of Penetanguishene should be responding, saying that we agree that there should be a review of the agreement and a review of the funding formula. So that's where I was coming from. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Vedabunker. I'm going to look to Councillor Marchand as our expert on the board. If we look at the CIP, the page 2 motion from Georgian Bay, would you feel that would capture the spirit of what we would like to proceed with?
Yes, it does, because I really feel the important piece here that is clearly different is that an independent third party. There's too many vested interests that I don't think we can parcel them out as the 8-member municipalities. So I do feel that this is an important opportunity, given that, this agreement is, it is time for a revision and review and modernization, quite honestly.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Deputy Mayor LaRose, are you comfortable with that motion if we may get Penetanguishene specific?
I'm comfortable with the motion from the July 17th letter, make it Penetang proper, and I would be willing to move that.
Thank you. Councillor Vadabonker, are you comfortable with that as seconder?
Yes, if I understand Councillor Marchand correctly, as the member of the SSEA, she is supporting that approach, and so I would support it as well.
Thank you. So, Council, on that second page, the motion would read, be resolved that the correspondence from the Township of Tay regarding Severn Sound Environmental Association be received, and that correspondence from the Township of Severn to the SSEA copy member municipalities also be received, and that the town of Penetanguishene send correspondence to the SSEA, its board, and member municipalities expressing appreciation for the work the SSEA has done so far, and to ask the SSEA board that a request for quotation be obtained to carry out a service level and fee structure review, and that it be conducted by an independent third party to be paid for by all member municipalities in a manner to be finalized. Deputy Mayor.
Good.
Councillor Vadabonker. Council, further comments or questions? Madam Clerk, you good with that motion on the fly?
That's perfect.
All right, Council, we're going to call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that carries. Thank you. That took care of our council information package. Before we move into our committee sections, I want to welcome Marla to our committee of the whole tonight. Thanks for being here with us tonight. So we'll move on to section A, Transportation Environmental Services section. I'm going to turn the chair to you, Councillor Marchand.
Thank you very much. You have before you for Transportation Environmental Services under the consent agenda that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. The first one being the Midland Penetanguishene Transportation Ridership Quarterly Update Q2 2024, RDS 2024-13. Second item being the Payette and LePage Water System Inspection Report. And the third, the corporate-wide Work Order System Progress Update, ENG-2024-16. Can I get a mover? Deputy LaRose, seconder. Councillor Waters, any questions or comments with regard to those three consent agenda items? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. For matters for consideration, we have two items this evening. The first one, Ojibwe Landing Ecological and Human Health Risk Management, ENG-2024-15. It's recommended that council approve the risk assessment report for the property at 111 Robert Street West, Ojibwe Landing. Can I get a mover? Mayor Rawson, seconder. Councillor Leroux, any questions or comments with regards to the very lengthy report that was provided, very extensive. Director Murray, would you like to comment on this report? Because it is pretty substantial.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as at a high level, the report is pretty comprehensive and lengthy. It was a tier 3 risk assessment under the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks risk assessment process. So that's the highest, most complex risk assessment tier that they provide. The report, in a general sense, high level overview, provides site-specific standards by which the property will be developed. And in that, saying that council has designated the land use as a very broad land use, and basically allowing for residential, commercial, and open space developments to be permitted on the property when it does go and proceed to development at a future date. We do have a municipal or master planning process scheduled for next year under the Planning and Community Development Department. So that will outline the development details in terms of a visioning exercise and overall plan for the development or use of the site going forward. And what this risk assessment report in front of council provides is the details associated with any risk management measures to protect human health and ecological health. Depending on what structures are built, whether there's a hard cap cover, parking lot areas, vapor mitigation system, very detailed engineering controls to protect human health, depending on what development plan is approved for the property. Right now, we're in the middle of our obtaining our certificate of property use for the property. The public period lapses this week. And from that, we will obtain any comments that the Ministry of the Environment receives through that process. And after that, we will apply for our record of site condition for the property, which we're anticipating on receiving in the fall this year. And that will culminate the environmental review of this property and allow the municipality to develop it according to a master planning process, which is to follow.
Thank you very much for that. And also my understanding is that we do have to approve this report as the next piece to move forward, correct?
Correct. As I indicated, the Ministry of the Environment has approved the risk management plan. They approved the report earlier this spring. The approval from council is a requirement under our Federation of Canadian Municipalities grant that we received at the project outset, and it's a requirement for receiving our portion of the funding.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regards to that report?
Just a comment. This is probably 3 council terms that this has been going, Brian, like a lot of work, a lot of engineers, like a lot of detail in this. And not that this is the saving grace, but last year you provided expert information to myself and the deputy mayor and COEs where we delegated this at AMO. My understanding is it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and the window was taking a long time and it was stalled. And I think that's some of the good work that AMO process does, which we'll be participating next week, that my understanding is it helped to expedite that process thereafter AMO. So maybe just a confirmation of that. Thank you to you and everyone that's done this work. And you already answered my questions. I wanted to know, what do we do from here? When can we start doing the plan B? Address that we'll start that work next year sometime. So thank you for that. Thanks.
Any other questions by members of council? Great. This is a great report, and I'm glad to see that we're moving forward on this one. So all those in favor? I did have a mover, right? Okay. Yep. Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item for matters for consideration, we have disposable of surplus assets, RDS-2024-07, that vehicle number 400 being a 2007 Freightliner snowplow be deemed surplus and be disposed of in accordance with the surplus vehicle and equipment policy. This is just the one item that's outlined in the report. It's deemed to be surplus and follow the usual policies in terms of disposal. Can I get a mover? Councillor Leroux. Councillor Waters, second. Any questions or comment with regards to this report? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Motion carries. Referral items for upcoming staff, agenda and staff. The Transportation Environmental Services section endorsed the following and existing referrals to upcoming staff agendas and staff. So we currently have traffic calming measures for Belzile Drive and Thompson Road. That is for Q3 of 2024. Septage disposal and treatment solution. That is follow-up for Q4 2024. Any other items to be added? No. Can I get a mover? Deputy LaRose, Councillor Waters. All those in, sorry, there was nothing to be added? No? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Motion carried. Thank you very much. That can, and any question period from the media and public with regards to this section? Seeing none, I will send it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to Section B, Recreation Community Services section, and turn the chair to Councillor Waters.
Thank you. So tonight we have 4 consent agenda items. The first one is a memo from the Director of Recreation Community Services regarding the outdoor rink. Currently, or in the past, we've had a artificial ice surface next door here on the church property. Lions Club have been kind enough to look after that for us, but with the mild weather that we've had, it hasn't been able to be used well. So we were fortunate last year to get some artificial ice surface, I don't know what they call it, from Ontario Place, and Fairlane Transport brought it up for us. Anyways, the consideration is that we would place this plastic sort of ice surface there, and the Lions Club would look after it. Second item is a memo from the Director in Community Services, again, regarding a seniors active living center funding. And apparently we've been lucky enough to receive a grant of $50,000 or up to $50,000. And we're looking towards Escanonia to help us with that, with the running of this thing for seniors. Third item is also a memo from the Director of Recreation and Community Services regarding the skate park that we have down at the waterfront. Apparently there's been a study on the existing park, and although it's still in good condition, the consideration is to either improve it or decommission it and create a new one. And the fourth one would be the Trails Committee minutes, where they're looking at the possibility of a bike lending service similar to that operated by the Midland Public Library. And would anybody like to pull any of these items? Seeing none, I guess we need a mover. Councillor Bonita and Deputy Mayor LaRose. All in favor? And we got a winner. And for matters of consideration, we have our Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee, RCS 2024-12. Recommended action is the town create a summer cultural event ad hoc committee, and the terms of reference be included as an attachment number 1 to this report. And further, that one council member, being Councillor Benita DeRush, be appointed to the Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee. And finally, that the recommendations made in the Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee on the 3 deliverables be shared with council. And they would be number RCS-2024-12, which is the Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee, and RCS 2024-12, the attachment number 1. And I would like to note that just as a personal observation that with our committee, it'll be 3 months before the committee gets started. It's going to run for another 6 to 12 months. We didn't have our summer festival this year. We're not going to have it next year. And I find that a little disappointing. I don't know if Marla wants to add anything to any of these items. If she does, she's more than welcome to. No? Then I guess matters of consideration, we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by our deputy mayor and Councillor DeRoche. All in favor? And opposed?
Yeah, same.
That's Councillor Vadabonker. I'm not sure what your vote was.
I was in favor. I did have a comment to make prior to the vote, but I think you missed my hand being up, so sorry about that.
If you can present your question.
It was just a comment, and I share your concern. As I said, I support the recommendation, but I'm, and I support public engagement and public participation and these ad hoc committees and public participation, but they take a long time. Like, it take a long time to get going. They take a long time to meet. Takes a lot of time, people schedules to get a meeting. We talked a little bit about that earlier this evening. I participate on a couple of others. I just have some concerns how long it takes for these committees to get up and running and then produce a tangible result. So I like to be an optimist, and I'm hopeful that this committee will be up and running soon, and we'll see some results in time for planning for next summer's festival. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if it's appropriate, but can we restart the vote, seeing as we missed his comments?
I don't know if it's going to change the vote, Councillor Waters, and next month this will come back through committee of the whole report. So the vote's been done. I think that's been recorded. If people want to further comment, I think you can do that with no problem.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Marshall.
Your speaker's on, just so we don't have, the report is very thorough. I like that there's been given lots of thought. I would be hopeful that we would have something in 2025, because certainly I think not having something for another year is disappointing, and I think it would be good for us to have something. I would really question the size of the ad hoc committee. It is extensively large. I know there's this regional approach, because we listed several of our partnering municipalities, and then there was various other groups as well. So recognizing that putting committees together and meeting can be daunting as well. So I think that's something through the terms of reference, but just a comment there on maybe rethinking the entire size. And do you pick the theme first? Do we go regional, or do we keep it to Penetanguishene? I think that is a big piece of this. And there's lots of great, suggestions and ideas. So it's certainly exciting for us. The bigger you make things, the harder it is to pull everyone together and get some decision-making done and move things forward. So just my comments there.
Councillor DeRoche.
When I read this report, I know that it is very unlikely that there would be that summer cultural festival that we're working towards in 2025 possibly, but doesn't preclude that we can't have another kind of activity or another kind of event that would be bridging from now to when we hopefully do put together a summer cultural festival. So that didn't concern me as much. And as far as the makeup of this committee, again, it's the terms of reference is very, very specific. So I mean, if we can keep to what the intent of this committee is intended to do, then I think we can probably get this done in in a good time chunk. So I'm feeling positive about it.
And I guess we have a comment from our mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Perhaps the CEO can speak to this. I think there's been a lot of good comments about fast tracking this and not delaying it, and let's get bear some fruit next year. Perhaps CEO can take that away and come back with, I think you're hearing some words and you can adjust there. Maybe he's got some comments for us.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the mayor's question. Thank you for that, and I appreciate the feedback the committee has provided and shared. I know that at a staff level, we've had, there's been lots of discussion as well about, you know, what does this look like for 2025? What does this look like for the, you know, and beyond? And I know certainly I speak for staff that we appreciate the feedback from committee. I think Councillor DeRush's comment about, the fact that it doesn't preclude us from doing something in 2025. I think we want to crawl before we walk and walk before we run. And, losing a full year might not be in the best interest of the future of whatever this looks like. So appreciate the comments. I'll certainly take it back at a staff level and have some conversation. And I think the committee will play an important role as well in terms of scope and also helping provide some guidance in possibly making something happen in 2025. I think this is an evolution, and with any event and any festival, a Grand Slam doesn't get hit in year one. So it's an evolution, and certainly we'll take that feedback back to staff and consider that as we move forward.
I guess we want to referral to upcoming agenda. And currently there's only the skateboard park review, which we talked about earlier. So I suppose that would be looked after in next council meeting. And finally, we'd have question period from the media or public. Online.
Sorry, Councillor Waters, I'll just need a mover and seconder for referrals. Thank you.
Mover and seconder for referrals. Councillor Marchand, Councillor DeRush. And do we need a vote?
Yeah.
All in favor? And we got a winner. Good. And I guess I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to 8, Section C, Planning Community Development Services section. I'm going to turn it to Councillor Leroux.
Thank you, Your Worship. On our consent agenda, we have one memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer, read the monthly activity report. Does anyone have anything, questions, concerns? A mover, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Marchand, all in favor? Thank you. And we have one item for consideration, and that is the proposed fence and boundary fence bylaw. Recommended action that the draft fence bylaw presented in attachment number 1 be brought forward for council approval, and that the draft boundary fence bylaw presented in attachment number 2 be brought forward for council approval. Questions, concerns, comments? None. Mover, Councillor Marchand, seconder, Deputy Mayor, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We referrals to upcoming agenda staff that the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agenda and staff. Cell tower public notification procedure, the HCF Affordable Housing Project, land request from Burkevale and 161 Church Street. Do any of these have to be or could be removed? You saying yes, Your Worship?
I think we could probably remove Burkeville. Staff are working with them on their on other opportunities, but this was about 51, and I think we've done that.
It's okay. We removed that. And does anyone have anything they would like to add? No one. Mover. Councillor Marchand, Councillor Waters, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. Question period from media and public. There are none. So back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leroux. 9, Section D, Finance and Corporate Services section. I'm going to turn to Councillor DeRush.
Thank you very much. So the Finance and Corporate Services has 3 consent agenda items. The first is a letter from the mayors of the town of Midland and Penetanguishene in the township of Tay, and it is regarding user fees and charges for all recreation amenities and services. The second is a 2024 quarter number 2 financial summary, Finance Report 2024-18. And the third item is a feasibility study award and executive steering committee. And it is regarding, exactly that, the award of a feasibility study. Are there any questions regarding any of these items? Yes, so Mayor Rawson?
I'd like to pull the first item, the letter from the mayors, and have a little bit of discussion on that if I can.
Councillor Marsha, same? Okay. So we will ask for a mover and seconder for the 2 other items, the financial summary and the feasibility study. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Marsha, seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose. Any questions and comments before we go to the vote? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. And so now we'll go to Mayor Rawson for that discussion on the letter.
Thank you very much, Councillor Drush. If Council recalls, months ago, we were talking about non-resident fees, specifically around recreational facilities here. A few months ago, this council asked that we do one more reach out to our neighbors and we see, is there a way that we can work with our neighbors to find a way forward? So that was direction this council asked that we do. A letter was provided to the Township of Tiny, Township of Tay, Town of Midland, to see if there was a willingness to have a further conversation on how we can bring this item forward. We scheduled the meeting. Tiny Township did not respond or attend. Tay did, Midland did, and of course we did. The mayors of the 3 municipalities were there and our CEOs. And at that meeting, we talked about not just arenas, but all recreational assets, from trails to beaches to pickleball courts to the like. And we said, what if we were to look at a third party consultant to come to us and look at it from a regional context on how we can put this together and share the burden across, and that there's no boundaries. And that was well received from Township of Tay, Town of Midland, and from us, that we look at doing that. So we created this letter and we sent it to the 4 municipalities, say, this is how we envision we'd like to continue going, because we've heard it loud and clear that user groups and residents don't want to be charged. And it was come upon us to find a way forward. Since then, Tay Township had this letter go to their council, and they're not willing to proceed further as we were hoping we would. And again, we've had no further correspondence from Tiny. And I think this council, we've talked about this quite a bit, about what that impact's going to be to the end user. I think we still need to do work on this. I would suggest today that we could continue doing the work, and we continue doing the work with the Town of Midland, and we look and see what this looks like. If not, we'll have to look at this through the budget cycle. But that's what we talked about here, and we said, let's further dialogue this with our communities, and here's where we're at. So just a small update for you on that.
Thank you, Mayor Rawson. Councillor Marsha.
Thank you for the context, because my notes say, can you provide some clarity on what's the goal here? Because it really wasn't clear to me what we were trying to achieve by this letter. And I think I appreciate the update that Tay's council didn't support this from a motion perspective. And I think, collectively we need all of our partners and all of our community neighbors at the table, because we know that, all of our programs and all of the groups that presented to us, we run regional programs. It's not just about skating or participating in the town of Penetanguishene or Midland. Individuals are coming from all around the communities, our surrounding neighbors, to participate in regional programs. We can't run these things independently. We won't have a Penetang minor hockey or Midland minor hockey if Tiny thinks they're going to be able to have a Tiny, a minor hockey association. It's just not big enough, right? Because we rely on these programs to be supported from a regional perspective. And so I wanted this pulled because I really don't understand what our positioning is without really having everyone at the table to have a discussion. And I don't support that we're going to hire a third party to come up with a solution that I don't know that we have any real control or direction over if Tiny doesn't come to the table and if we're not all coming with an open mind and open approach to it. So, I think there is still more work to be done. I think we need to continue to do it, and it may be something that is approached through the budget process, but those are just my thoughts.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Oh, yes, Councillor Vademolker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that this was discussed at Tiny Township Council. I don't know what the resolution was, but it was fairly recently discussed. It was reported in the Midland Today online publication. So I'm a little disappointed about Tay not wanting to move forward, but it seems that there might be interest in Tiny to move forward, but I don't know that for a fact. I am concerned. I applaud the mayors for trying to get together and to try to see if there was some solutions that could be found outside of just what we have come up with so far. And, there are experts in the field that do this, and maybe a third party could come up with a resolution that would work for all the 4 municipalities in North Simcoe. So, I'm supportive of what's being tried to do because I don't like the alternative, and it's something that if we can try again to work together, I'm supportive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other? Yes, Mayor Rawson.
Sorry, thank you. I'm wondering if it might be helpful if the CEO can chime in. Just for background, this conversation has been going on a long time before this council began sitting, and CEOs have met and they've been talking about this for some time, years, and there was a path forward. There was work and a path forward, and it got to a certain point and then it got stuck. So maybe the CEO can just give a little bit of a background, or like, this isn't 3 months long. This conversation has been going on for some time, specifically at administration level.
Through Madam Chair to His Worship's question, he's absolutely correct. This has been going on for a long time. There's been lots of discussions administratively, which has also involved some of our elected officials as well. I think Councillor Vademolker is right. I did see the same media article that he was referring to. I saw that today, actually, where Tiny did express an interest in working together. And I think there was even a quote suggesting that, maybe Tay will come back to the table, given, Tiny has expressed an interest in playing. I think from my perspective, I'm optimistic that, collectively we can at least decide on a path forward. I do think that, similar to the SSEA conversation, I think there might be some merit in hiring external, someone a little bit more independent and removed. Not to say that internally we can't do some of the heavy lifting, but I think it's a touchy subject, and I think it's an important conversation. The reality is, I think for us as a municipality, this conversation's been going on for a long time. I think we need to take our time and do it right, and also be cognizant of being respectful to our user groups and the community as a whole, specifically as it relates to upcoming budget. And not that we want to rush that decision, but I think we need to be open and transparent with the community on where this is heading. So I think maybe I took a little bit of liberty there and expanded outside of what the mayor has asked, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? I would like to maybe just to put a comment regarding this. I know that the letter does talk about getting a third party involved in trying to bring some resolution to this. but we have experts in each of our municipalities who know recreation better than anybody. And these are the directors we have in place. We have one in Penetanguishene. They have one in Tiny. There is parks people in Tay who are responsible for their business. And there are people in Midland who are also responsible for parks. And I think if we're able to take the politics out of this issue and hand that over to the people who know most about how programs work, how it affects the public, how it could cripple us if we do this, if we do that. They know the players at the table. I think if we can empower these people to get together around a table, they know the positions of their council, to talk to each other, and maybe they can produce a homemade solution that could fulfill all of the requirements that we all have at our own tables. And I think we've taken the experts away from the table and we've made this a political thing. And that's what's, I think, holding up the whole process. So I think we need to, if this route isn't working, obviously, we've been tied up for months. And now people are starting to come back to the table. But again, these are, I mean, absolutely, mayors and councils have to be involved, but we really don't understand what's at stake compared to the experts who deliver every day. So I think we need to start thinking about it that way. So those are my comments. Any other comments? No? Then we'll vote to accept this agenda item. A mover, please, and a seconder. Moved by Mayor Ross and seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose. All in favor? Opposed? And the motion carries. We have one matter for consideration, and it is funding options for Georgian Bay General Hospital MRI addition, Finance Report 2024-19. And the recommended action is that option number 3 be approved, which is to do nothing as upper tier capital funding is available through the County Simcoe Hospital Alliance. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please, before we discuss? Moved by Mayor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Waters. And any comments or questions about this? Yes, Councillor Marsha.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing this forward as an item so quickly. I know I just brought it forward at our last meeting, so I absolutely appreciate it. I appreciate the report, and I do have a couple questions. And I appreciate Deputy LaRose for you sharing as well that the county did make a contribution of $1.4 million. As the report outlines, this is an $8 million capital expense. So the government gives the green light and says, congratulations, GBGH, you get to have an MRI machine, and we will fund you to have staffing for that MRI machine. They don't pay for the new whole section that had to be built at the hospital, because our hospital, our only hospital within our community that services all of our members within Penetanguishene, and I think you quoted a 4,000 people list waiting to get MRIs locally. This is a big expense, and it will not be a 24/7 operation either. They're only funded to run, I believe, 12 to 18 hours, not 24 hours like Barrie, which is the closest MRI for our residents. And people go at 3 and 4 in the morning to get MRIs. And so as much as I appreciate that the county has kicked in the $1.4 million, they're still only sitting, I think as of yesterday, at about $2.9 million of this capital. And we want to see this thing open in February. I know that Matt Lawson is dedicated and the foundation is working really hard. But I was disappointed to see that the option was we do nothing and don't put any money towards this. So the one thing that I didn't see in the report that I'd like some clarity if we have the information is whether our fellow municipalities and neighbors have also made contributions to the MRI project. If we have that information. And I think the other piece is we just can't lose sight that this is, although we may be upset that Penetang does no longer has a hospital here. We haven't had one for many years now. GBGH is our regional hospital. It is our hospital where our residents, our children, where we all go. I was proud to be a member of the board for 4 years when I had a son who had an earache, and it was the place I could bring my child at 3 a.m. and get service. And to not do anything, I think, is really a hard one to swallow. And I think that, we all feel that healthcare is the next level's responsibility, someone who's embedded in healthcare on a day-to-day basis. It really takes a village and a community to have these kind of services. And this is not a light and small project. And so I would like that one question answered, if we know if our neighboring municipalities have made contributions. And I won't be supporting option 3. I would like to look at option 1 in terms of making a $25,000 pledge to the MRI machine.
Okay, so first we'll ask for if Director Robillard has any answer to the funding by other municipalities.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Marchand. I am not aware of what other local lower tier municipalities have or have not contributed to the project. And if I could just expand on the recommendation related to your comments about the recommendation. There are no parameters within the town policies for me to recommend anything other than that. So really it is definitely a council decision. So I just wanted to clarify that. But in the past capital funding program that we did have, there were eligibility criteria surrounding receiving upper tier and lower tier funding, because in effect, it all comes from our local taxpayers, whether it's through the county or whether it's through the lower tier municipality. So I just wanted to make that comment as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, yes, Mayor Rawson.
I appreciate Councillor Marchand's comments, and we all have an attachment to our local community hospital, and it's an important asset in our community. But I think we really got to be careful on this. The county is working, and we've got a third-party consultant coming back to county council about how do we look at the capital needs of all of our county hospitals, and how do we look at that from a regional construct to fund them appropriately from a regional lens. And that work's being done by the county. GM Sinclair started that and brought that to county in June. I think it's important that we let them lead that charge. My other concern here is, it's really about encroachment of responsibility. Next week we're going to AMO, and I'd ask the CO, we're probably going to be on about our 7th delegation asking for the province to make us whole for our policing costs of the super jail. I would argue, and we all would agree, that's not our responsibility to be paying. The town resident shouldn't be paying for policing costs of the jail. It's a provincial responsibility. But we've been paying north of $1 million over the last few years for that institution. That's not our responsibility. I don't know why we're allowing them to get away with that. And the second thing, we're saying, well, we'll cover your health costs as well. The province has to come to the table and pay the right institutions and pay their way. That's not our responsibility. I think this is really slippery slope for us to do this. I'm going to support option 3. Based on, I know the county is doing this work, and I think it's going to get really complicated for our lower tiers. The county's asked the lower tiers, don't do it. Don't do it. Allow the regional government do it.
Thank you for those comments. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Waters.
I'm would like to see that the community pony up some money for the MRI. However, I don't think it's just the town's responsibility. I'm in a kind of a unique situation where I can see soup kitchens that are going on, and I see hundreds of people going in there every Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's a pantry on the side of the road that people are going up and taking food out of because they need it. We have a lot of people in this town that are struggling financially, and I don't think it's fair that we ask them to mandatorily have to give up money for an MRI. True, they're going to need it, and they would use it as much as anybody else. But I think rather than have the local town pay the money, I think we should rely on private donations. We have people in this town that are earning upwards of, you know, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. They can afford to give it. We shouldn't be asking the guy that's making $20,000 a year to have to pony up on his tax bill for it.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Riddle-Mulker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be supporting option 3. Just a little bit of history. Many years ago, the individual hospitals used to go to the local municipalities asking for capital contributions, and communities that had multiple hospitals or did not have hospitals but were serviced by multiple hospitals were faced by multiple requests every year. And a decision was taken that rather than the local municipalities have to pick and choose which hospital they would provide funding to, that funding would be moved up to the county, and the county would implement a process where it could allocate funds to the various hospitals that service the population of the county of Simcoe through its tax levy, so that the local tax levy would not be faced with having competing requests for funding. And so the mechanism is put in place, and over the years, the county has funded our hospitals in the area, from Stevenson Memorial to the Collingwood General Hospital to Georgian Bay General Hospital to all across the RVH, all across the county. So, you know, as much as I'd like to say, yes, this is a worthwhile cause, and I agree with it, the way that hospitals are funded through the local tax dollar is through the county levy by the county allocating funds. And the deputy mayor outlined earlier about the significant amount of money that the county has just given to GBGH, which was great news. And that's what it was intended for, was that the county with its tax base would be able to allocate those funds on a need basis to the various hospitals in Simcoe County. So I'll be supporting option 3, not because I don't support an MRI. I think they're very worthwhile, but I think that the decision was made that funding for hospitals would be made at the county level as opposed to the local municipality. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Any other comments or questions? No. Now, I did get a mover and a seconder. Yes, so I guess we will go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Now next to the referral items, and we do still have 4 on the list. Again, the paper ballot consideration for the 2026 municipal election. We also have the non-resident fee review update, which is ongoing. GBGH MRI expansion project, we will be able to probably address that next meeting. And then we have the warming/cooling centers to include a policy and support and resources. Are there any other items that we want to add to the list? Seeing none, there is a recommendation that the Finance and Corporate Services section endorse the following additional existing referrals for upcoming agendas and staff. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Do we have any questions from the media and public? Seeing none, we'll send it back to you, Mayor Rawson.
Thank you very much, Councillor Drush. We're going to look for a motion to adjourn at 10:08 by Councillor Roux, second by Councillor Marchand. Have a good evening, everyone.